The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Live tonight from the Bristol Motor Speedway, LSRTV is happy to say, as always, good evening sim racing fans, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the SESRA series on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. Tonight we head to Thunder Valley. Bristol Motor Speedway plays host to round 4 on this 2018-19 campaign. And we're so happy that you're with us this evening for the Gladiator 250. As always, myself, Evan Pasoko, David Childhouse, Rachel Whiteford with you, with our producer, Brett Wheeler, downstairs bringing us to you. And happy to have everybody back with us. David coming off of I think, an equally tumultuous race we just saw a week ago from Darlington. We had to do another one of those rough and tough racetracks tonight from Bristol.
Yeah, it doesn't get much easier than it did a week ago. Bristol certainly called the last great Coliseum for one reason only. Not a lot of room to get away from your competitors here on the high banks, 36 degrees in the corners at this half-miler. It's a brawl in stock cars. That's why all the fans love to come out and watch it, because these guys beating and banging. The high side's going to be hot and heavy, of course, but those guys will swing it down to the bottom lane as well to try and make some passes, and all that adds up to is guys arguing over real estate. There's not a lot of real estate to spread around here as it is, so I expect to see a lot of contact, and that's going to be fun.
And there's a reason why they call this place the last great Coliseum. It is going to be an all-out war tonight for 250 laps. And, you know, some of those same cliches, well, there, obviously, you're going to be looking at drivers trying to stay out of the fence, with the high line being the fastest place around this joint. Obviously, not a lot of space to avoid incidents. Those are just some of the trademarks of short tracks like Bristol. But it is kind of interesting where this falls in the grand scheme of things, Rachel, because we come into this race, 4th of the year, with a tie at the very top of our championship. Derek Paulson and Sean Wilder tied for the top spot, and we are just slowly starting to see some separation. You've got Kyle Gilbert 6 points off in 3rd, Jeff Ward 9 points off in 4th, and Spencer Preet 14 off for the race lead in 5th, and then it's, increments of 2 or 3 points from there. But because the season's still very young, we haven't started to see the points spread out. I think we're starting to kind of get into the serious portion of the season where you got to lock down mid-season form, and we'll start to get a better idea of who the guys battling for the championship are going to be and who the guys who aren't, I think, in the next couple of weeks. And maybe that starts tonight with whether you survive Bristol or not.
Absolutely. Well, you call it the last great Coliseum. My preferred nickname is the Death Blender, because everything gets mixed up in this place and nothing comes out in one piece. This is one heck of a racetrack, and it is certainly one of the most vicious ones in terms of problems, because accidents here, they don't tend to be solo car moments. Not very often. So these guys are going to have to play a different game here tonight. It's definitely equal parts survival, equal parts speed. Long runs, I think we might be lucky, but as the cars get ready to head to that field, cars like Spencer Preet, Jeff Ward, Justin Bolton, Carl Vincent Gilbert, guys out front are going to have a lot easier job here, because staying out front, less chance of being involved in the big pileups.
And we'll see maybe just how critical qualifying in a good position is going to be, because that qualifying session has drawn to a close. So let's go trackside and introduce you to your starting grid tonight from Bristol. And it was Spencer Preet, you mentioned him, the 00 machine. He will bring us to the green flying tonight. His 14.603 was the best time at Q, and by a good margin. Next closest driver, 8/100ths of a second off. It's not a lot when you really think about it, but, to racing terms, it is certainly a good amount of distance. That'll be Jeff Ward in the 9, starting on the outside of the front row in 2nd. Back on row 2, Justin Bolton will start tonight in 3rd. Kyle Vincent Gilbert rolls from 4th, and it'll be John Johnson rounding out your top 5.
Behind them is Derek Paulson in 6th place, with Tyler Pinsino in 7th place. Travis Brown back in 8th place there in the 01. with Michael Cozy Jr. in 9th and Taylor Butcher Benjamin in 10th place.
Douglas Johnson's going to roll off from 11th. Sean Wilder in 12th. Jason Taylor, the Daytona winner, in 13th. Mark Arthur, 14th. Jay Graves Jr. rolling off from 15th. And Steve Ritter is going to come off from the 16th position.
And continuing on through, Zachary Sprung in 17th, Matt Ridgway in 18th, and Wally Wilson 19th. Those are the final drivers to take a time at a qualifying session. That means first driver on a provisional outside of row 10, P20 tonight is going to be Mike Montesi.
21st place tonight, Brian McRae is up there with Hunter A. King. Jason Anderson in 23rd place, Kevin Dye, and last place tonight, Mark Dingman in 25th place.
A complete look top to bottom of your LSRTV starting grid. We talk about this world's fastest half mile, the Bullring, Thunder Valley, the last great Coliseum. So many nicknames that you could come up with it, but you are going to have to get through this race, which tonight, David, means 250 laps, 133 miles on a racetrack that clocks in, if you look at the numbers real specifically, just over a half mile in length at 0.533 miles, but it is the progressive banking, 26 down on the bottom, and 30 degrees up on the outside wall is what makes this place so notorious.
The last good analogy I like to use for this place I heard from a long time ago. It's like jet fighters in a gymnasium. I think that's what they said. So that's always a fun one to use as well. They're going to be duking it out here as they roll side by side. Come to that green flag, Evan. I'm excited. It's ready to go. It's Bristol, baby. Let's do this.
Should to be a good one. Lone stop on the calendar for Bristol Motor Speedway. The schedule is going to expand a little bit with some bigger tracks coming up, but the short track mentality and the aggression, maybe, to get some of the nerves out early in the year certainly going to come to a pinnacle tonight as the lights go out on top of the pace car and it'll head down to the pit lane this next time by. As always, we're happy that you're spending a Thursday night with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. It is round number 4 of the SESRA series tonight from the Bristol Motor Speedway. The 00 Spencer Preet's going to be able to dictate when this race goes green. He'll be on the inside line for the restart. That is not necessarily the best way around this racetrack on a green flag run. Let's see how long the inside survives and how desperate the climb to the outside is going to be. Spencer Preet looking for the green flag as they come into turn number 4. We're SESRA Series racing for the Gladiator 250.
We've had our first contact, 99 car there of Michael Cozy Jr. went into the back of the 1 of Tyler Pinstone there on the start. Better launch, but, well, just a little bit too soon, in fact, for him. But that's one of the things I want to mention, of course, is we get a big shove here on the outside there. The 2227 there machine, Carver to Gilbert running fast, but the 9's managed to get past and slot back up in position. 24's coming on. But the restarts, Evan, they are critical because they are really bad when you're trying to guess where the leader's going. Trying to get on the gas hard. There's a big bump there out of 4. That will really upset some guys on restarts.
Yeah, most racetracks, most races in general, you kind of look at the restarts as your opportunity to make up a ton of spots. Some drivers, even after a green flag run, kind of want the field to get grouped back up, give it an opportunity to make some passes. But here, as you see everybody try to get single file, you just want to not lose positions, just kind of maintain, get up to the outside of the racetrack. That's the main objective. But the inside's still an option right now. See a challenge for the race lead. Jeff Ward trying to go low on Preet. He can dive down there all he wants. The 00's not going to drive down there trying to block him. Even somebody like a 24, a John Johnson, going a little bit lower than the car in front of him. But it is so difficult to execute passes here with that outside line to be in the best way around the racetrack. Means that if we get late, that slide job, everybody's favorite, could come into effect.
That's one of the best ways to execute a pass here. That high side's so good. You can keep up a really nice speed up around the wall, sort of diamond it down at the apex and get a good straight run off the corner, carry a lot of momentum. That's why it works so well, and that's why you're going to see these guys up there. But Jeff Ward committed to the bottom, tighter radius, and as we jump on board the 9 car, you get to see in the corners, really nobody in front of him there. He knows that 00 is out there against the outside wall, and they sort of come together on exit. But 2 unique lines, Jeff Ward trying to figure out a way to maybe get into the mind of one Spencer Preet just a little bit, make him think. That's your Charlotte winner, Jeff Ward. We saw him put a clinic on there. Now running second, probably not content to stay there for very long.
And that's why I think he's trying to mix it up a little bit. You're not going to gain any time with a car in front of you if you're doing the exact same thing that they are. So he deviates a little bit, tries to mix it up, and We'll see if he can maybe work this groove in. Another thing to keep in mind is, obviously, this racetrack's going to evolve as the night goes on. The more rubber that gets put down, the more heat that gets into the racetrack. Typically, that would move a line from the bottom of the racetrack up the hill. But if you keep putting rubber down on the bottom, you keep just getting consistent lap times down there, you'll eventually make it maybe a little bit more of a viable option as these, 200 laps, plenty of time, work on, but not working out early for Jeff Ward. Still throwing down to the inside. I don't really think the objective here for the non-Rachel is to make passes. I think he's just trying to keep his options open and running around the racetrack, not needing up those tires that much. And the top two doing a good job of pulling away. They have pulled almost a second on Kyle Vincent Gilbert. The 227 sits third. John Johnson pretty close to his back bumper also.
Yeah, certainly. One guy that's kind of hemorrhaging spots at the moment, kind of slowly right now, but looks to me like he's going to be losing some in the future. Kyle Butcher Benjamin up on the high side, getting passed by guys on the low side, trying to get himself back up into this thing. Just seems to not be quite as dominant here. A little bit timid on the racetrack, which not a bad option to have in the first half of a race here at Bristol. But one thing I do actually want to ask you, Evan, what are our tyre numbers looking like for tonight? This will be critical.
Yeah, these drivers are only going to have 2 sets of tires available over the course of a 250-lap race. I was talking with some of the drivers and race admins earlier in the day, and they were really saying that once you get 60, 70 laps into a run, these tires are toast. You're going to go about double that on each set. Of course, to be able to go to the end of this race. So cautions and restarts and when those come out in this race are certainly going to play a factor in that. But tires have always been something, David, that have dictated when pit stops happen at Bristol, much more so than fuel has. And these drivers, again, solely dependent on the amount of tires they have available. And again, that number tonight is only 2 sets. As Jeff Ward, first time tonight, the 9 car, going to go to the race lead in this one. That was courtesy of a mistake by Spencer Preet. The 00 machine looked like he got into the fence, maybe a little bit than on with a very easy maneuver down low. So that'll be our first lead change for the race. Looks like it came at lap 16.
And that's the inherent danger with running up there against the wall like Spencer Preet has been doing. It's a fine line. You step over that line just a little bit and you're up into the outside wall. And a guy like Jeff Ward, who's been very quick and putting a lot of pressure by running that low line, forced Spencer Preet into a mistake there. Easily takes advantage of that as Spencer Preet falls back to second, but now Jeff Ward out front, still staying on the bottom, even though he's now out front. So Jeff Ward really liking that bottom lane. But to go back to your earlier point you were making about the tire allotment, yes, the tire allotment rule here in the SESRA series, one thing I really do enjoy quite a bit. And having 2 sets is going to really create some interesting strategy because you can only go 60 or 70 laps before the tires are really going to be gone. You got to take good care of them. These guys are putting down competitive lap times. If we look out not too far ahead of our leaders here, Evan, we've got the tail end of the lead lap cars, Matt Ridgway, Hunter A. King, Douglas Johnson, Jason Taylor. These guys not too far away. About a straightaway separates the leader from the back end of the pack.
Yeah, you're, the back car is 13 seconds off of the race leader, but when you're talking about 15-second lap times, he's right there, and if you get anything longer than 25 green flag runs tonight, that is going to be a constant struggle for your race leaders. Now, of course, those lap cars very early on, they're going to want to fight for what they can. They're going to be very aggressive, trying to stay on the lead lap. Obviously, a yellow could come out at any moment. If a yellow flag does come out and you're a lap down, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get back into the race, whereas if you defend your lead lap position, you're fine. You pick up the race leaders, and there isn't really much of a change. So I wouldn't be surprised if some drivers give Jeff Ward a little bit of a tricky time. Look right here, though, he's actually stuck on 2 cars in contact. The 88 machine of Douglas R. Johnson, the last car on the lead lap, was fighting with Matt Ridgway for position, and a 9 car, a little bit gutsy, I'd say, trying to go through one more contact. There he goes. Johnson gets turned by Spencer Preet.
That was one of those situations where you kind of saw it coming, but second place Spencer Preet wasn't waiting around. That guy kind of came down into a lead lap car's line, which is a little impolite, and, well, he got turned for his trouble, and I think Preet managed to get away with that one fairly successfully. No real damage. Just a bit of a crinkled outside bumper, but that wasn't from that contact, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I mentioned that those lapped cars would be a little bit aggressive. I don't even think that was, Johnson being overly aggressive. I think that's just your race leaders didn't even bother trying to set that one up. I mean, Johnson got hit by both the first and the second cars that approached him there in about a half a lap.
Not sure if that's ego or a little impatience or some combination of the two, but yeah, the leader's not messing around with these cars that are a little bit off the pace. As you said, first and second place both put in the bumper. to the 88 and really give them a hard time. Now, when you're a slower car and you got the leaders coming up, you got to pick a line. You got to stick to it. We've seen Jeff Ward want to stay on the bottom and Spencer Preet kind of be committed to the top. So if these guys that are about to get lapped have somebody communicating that to them, or at least are looking to see, they got to stick to where they are. But yeah, I wouldn't say that was the best effort, Evan, to try and navigate the back half of the field.
Cars at the pit lane early in this one, but doesn't look like any of them are taking tires. Obviously, you don't want to waste your two sets of tires down on the pit lane at all. So, Tyler Pinisso down pit road from 17th position. He just looks like he came in to get some damage repaired. And that's also going to be a decision that drivers have to make all night, Rachel, is everyone, I think, is going to have damage. If you do not have any damage on your car after 250 laps at Bristol, should say, then tip of the cap to you. Well done, sir. But there's a certain amount, because it's a short track, we really don't care that much about aerodynamics. There's a certain level of damage that I guess we accept is okay. You can't pit every time you get damage, so drivers are certainly going to have to decide what it's worth.
This is like Martinsville. If you haven't got some damage on your race car by the end of this thing, baby, you ain't been trying.
No, exactly, and I think that you see that with somebody like Michael Cozy Jr. You mentioned it right off of the start. I mean, coming to the green flag, pretty good contact on the front end of that machine. As long as the whole nose is still there, as long as the hood's still on it, I don't think you need to be concerned.
Now, the front end definitely more important than the back end for these cars, especially at the half-miler like Bristol. So aerodynamics do play a little bit of a role. I mean, if the car doesn't have the same amount of aero downforce, it's making the tires work harder, and you're going to wear through those tires even faster. But yeah, you want to protect the nose. You want to protect the fenders as well. You don't care if the back bumper gets destroyed. That's, I think if you come out of a short track without any damage of some variety to your car, like Rachel said, it's you didn't really try that hard, I don't think, or you were just out front waxing the field, and we're just not going to see that in a race like this. So lights go out at top of the pace car, Evan. We're getting ready to restart this thing, and now Jeff Ward on the bottom, Spencer Preet up top. Again, Jeff Ward goes to the bottom. We'll see how that works on the restart. Didn't work out so well. I think that top side gets a better run down the front straightaway.
Yeah, and we'll see how much better the outside continues to get, but Jeff Ward always favored that bottom side by just a tad bit. So we'll see if, when he kind of blends into that middle or so line. All he needs is the jump. You clear the 00 machine, you're in a good position. So let's see what Jeff Ward has for the first restart on the night. Pace car going to be in this time. Ward inside, Preet outside of the front row with Gilbert, Johnson, and Paulson through the top 5. Green flying in the air and a lot of tire spin for everybody off of the front row. Spencer Preet outside with a big wiggle, and it's going to open up the door. Gilbert to the inside. It's a fight for P2.
Certainly is, and a big jump there off that restart. Very clustered, in fact, as everyone bustling around now. And these restarts, of course, with the limited tyres, they're going to get harder and harder. People will wheel spin off the start here. Oh, it's sideways!
Caution's out, second time tonight, and well, Douglas R. Johnson's not having a very good start to this Bristol race. Replay will show you it was not even really a battle. I mean, 22nd, 21st going at it, yes, and again, Johnson just gets hit from behind. It's Hunter A. King, who's got a ton of speed, wants to go outside, and just gets a little bit sideways, comes down, tags the 88, and it has not been a fun evening for Johnson. Second yellow, second time it's been the 88 car into the wall.
This was actually not that. It was the 16 car, Steve Ritter, tagged by the 61 there, or 91, sort of Wilder, turns him around. That's what got the main part of that caution.
Yeah, so tons of stuff going on, and we've been somewhat fortunate to the point that we made right off at the top about these incidents not normally just ending with one car involved. I mean, that time it's at the very back of the pack. I could understand that you've got some space behind the racetrack for your race leaders to clear, but even the first one, anytime your race leaders are just near an incident, let alone involved, they normally get pretty ugly, especially at a place like Bristol. So 2 yellows, 33 laps in, but relatively minor damage. Nobody's on the hook yet. It certainly could be worse, but I think all these drivers would really like to spread this thing out and try to get a green flag run in, but kind of adversely with what you would expect. More green flag runs, you would expect the chance of going green to, improve. I think at Bristol, again, once you get mixed in with the lap traffic, you're really never safe.
I don't think you're safe anywhere on this track at any given point, whether it's out front, in the middle, or in the back. And we want to talk about damage. I think there's going to be more emotional damage right now for Douglas Johnson. 2 incidents within a handful of laps, a beat-up race car to boot, not having a real good time. Those are the kind of pressing moments where you really consider, is this how I want to spend my night, or should I just hang it up and get after it again next week? Maybe Atlanta will bring some better fortunes to the driver, the number 88, but a tough go for him nonetheless. But Evan, these guys out front, I mean, Jeff Ward got such a huge jump on the restart. I don't know. The wheel spin definitely plays a factor in it, but just the launch that he was able to get, he was already out by almost a half a straightaway over Spencer Preet before that yellow flag came out.
Yeah, that was a combination of 2 things. Preet having a bad restart, and I think Jeff Ward having an excellent restart. That's why maybe the Nada machines shine away from restarting on the outside, because of the tire spin up there. Maybe that'll explain why the Arctic Ford has been wanting to restart down low, and I based on the results at least last time, don't see any reason why he would change his mind this time around.
Yeah, certainly, and it's definitely the best place to restart, of course, but like I say, with the older tyres, this gets really crazy for second place on backwards. Third place actually has a far better shot of getting away behind the leader in this sort of thing, but you've got to be very careful, especially starting off the top. It just becomes super tricky. But down the bottom, not bad. You can usually get a good jump away, so leader's typically safe. It's the guys behind them, though, will get these checkups, these bunchings up, and this is what leads to the subsequent cautions at Bristol.
We're going to go on board with the number 24, John Johnson, for this restart. He is inside of row 2 in 3rd. And just take a look at the 2 cars that are in front of him. Ward obviously has the ability to control this restart, and Spencer Preet's kind of having to play catch-up. Let's see how this one shakes out, with the race car coming in this time. 37 laps complete from Bristol. When does the 9 go? It's going to be an early start for him. He does clear as the green flag comes back out in the air, but a lot better start for everybody else as well. Looks like Spencer Preet going to be able to defend second. A lot less tire spin as Johnson out of the inside. He and Gilbert fight for 3rd.
Big bunch up there, 24 car getting swallowed. Johnson there, oh, contact with him, and oh, round goes at the car. No caution now, goes to the apron, holds it down there. That was contact, I believe, down there with on the outside. I'm looking at the 227, and oh, contact again. 24 gets past, so John Johnson making it into forwards now. Another place for him, 3rd place, but 227, Carpenter Gilbert getting bumped around. He's going to return the old chrome horn, I think, to the 24 if you can get up to him.
Another driver around bolted. It was the first one that spun that did bring a yellow, and out another driver with some issues somehow. This race is still in green flag conditions, and the fight still for 3rd. Gilbert now swapped spots inside of the 24 of Johnson. But again, should note that is more contact now with Brown and Paulson get into each other. That Justin Bolton, who was in that accident, had actually started this race in 3rd. He's followed all the way down to the tail end of the lead lap after that contact.
Unfortunate set of circumstances for Justin Bolton, getting turned around, not getting a yellow to sort of help him catch up. Just a lot of action. I see these guys, everybody's really driving aggressively into these corners, fighting to get to the top of the contact. The 99 is around. Oh, how did he save that car? We're still under green.
And not only that, but how about Derek Paulson, who splits the gap as Michael Conti saves an 99 from headed straight into the inside wall. And again, another crisis averted as Travis Brown, the driver who actually had gone into the 99, hits the wall that time at the corner. The 99, the 01, don't believe those 2 drivers would ever get into each other on purpose. So it shows you maybe the different driving styles into the corner. Another piece of contact. It's Wally Wilson. The 27 got moved by the 8 of Butcher Benjamin. And again, another near accident.
Oh, it's crazy here, but one of the biggest ways to save your car is someone like Bristol, because you got to do it fast. It's the old 2-foot magic hack. Brake, throttle, slam them to the ground. You'll probably keep the car in the same direction, but whether that direction is entirely up to you at this point in the race. Butcher Benjamin up on the higher side there, 27 up ahead of him. Of course, Wally Wilson, we talked about him eating a lot of walls. Contact with a 7 there. And Mike Montesi, this thing is going crazy.
Yeah, nearly impossible to keep an eye on all of the different battles that are going on the racetrack. In a battle for the race lead, Spencer Preet going to get it. 2nd time that we've seen these 2 exchange.
Contact on the front straightaway. Oh, that's Arthur around. That's going to bring out a caution. My goodness.
That's big. That's not just one of those single cars getting turned around and everybody else being okay. It started with a couple, and it was Mark Arthur you mentioned in the 12 who spun. The LSRTV replay will show that it was Brian McRae who got into the outside wall in the 35. Turned the 12. The racetrack was blocked. I have no idea how Mike Montesi doesn't get tagged there in the 7, but the 12 goes around and there's a lot more contact with Jason Taylor, Matt Ridgway. Nobody else actually really wrecks. Just a lot of cars used each other to slow down to avoid Arthur in the middle of the racetrack.
It's certainly a very creative technique. Use the guy in front of you to brake, and hey, 8 wheels are better than 4, right? But this track is certainly one of the difficult ones in terms of trying to guess where things are and hope you get the right decision. Safe bet at Bristol typically is go high. This track, like Dover, is self-cleaning. Stuff ends up at the bottom. Always go high.
And drivers utilized both methods of escape. We saw some go high, some go low. And for the most part, both options actually ended up panning out okay in that scenario. And we're lucky that we don't have a ton of race cars wrecked. Should note that as you get an onboard look with where all of this started, off at turn number 4, the contact into the outside wall by the 35 car that then comes back down and gets into anybody. That's more so the kind of Bristol I would expect. And that was probably the 7th wreck we had since the restart, Dave. Just the first one that actually triggered a caution flag by sending a car all the way around.
I'm surprised it took that much to bring out a yellow for as many cars we saw sideways. Just an incredible amount of contact. I haven't seen this much hitting since Rocky versus Apollo Creed. This is, I mean, this is the kind of fight that people come to Bristol to watch. The physicality that's involved with running around this racetrack, top and bottom. These guys fighting over the minuscule amount of real estate. Everybody seemingly really committed to running the top side, and the guys that are forced to the bottom are really uncomfortable down there, and that creates a lot of conflict, I guess you can say. And somehow out of all that, we only got 1 yellow for the amount of cars that were out of shape, but that's a credit to these SESRA Series drivers. They're doing a great job holding on to it. Sideways, it almost looks like a drift event sometimes, depending on which pack you're looking at. Action all the way around the racetrack. We're not going to be able to keep up with it if they keep doing this, but these guys are going to be flat wore out by the time they're done with this race here tonight. If they keep up this level of contact, 250 laps, the pace car is going to be the only one that doesn't have any damage on it.
Yeah, so far no one's hit it. Should also note that right when that incident happened, Spencer Preet had taken a race lead back from Jeff Ward. So it was Ward passing to Preet on the first stint, and then it was Spencer Preet passing Jeff Ward back on the second stint. So it's a complete reset up front. Preet back to the race lead where he started on the pole, and Jeff Ward will restart this one on second. Presumably, they would be inside and out respectively. So not much has changed right towards the front, clearly showing you that qualifying up front keeps you out of trouble. However, a lot has changed mid-pack. 8th position all the way down through 13th. All those drivers started outside the top 15 and all right now run inside of the top 13. So those are kind of the benefits of being mid-pack where it is chaotic, but also not getting involved in incidents that lead to that chaos is you're in a much better spot. So we'll see if any of those drivers, Ritter, Graves, McRae, and company, can continue their charges to the front. But again, I think the restart going to tell us a lot about the run that we're going to see. Pace car added in. Spencer Preet going to be in control once more. Nice and easy start. He'll lead to the line. And a great jump. Gilbert behind as he wants to take P2.
Cozy Jr. nearly got into the 24 there of Johnson, but backed it off early enough and measured things just right. Big dive now by the 9 of Jeff Ward. Trying to get himself some sort of track position here on Preet. Not quite able to get anything happening yet. Some sliding behind him. Big junk on the backstretch.
The parking lot, and they're still getting turned. I see McRae go sideways. And that is the 35 who was just involved in the previous accident, and it looks like he was near the start of this one again. The LSRTV replay will show the tail of the tape. 3 wide, and it was the 27 car. Wally Wilson outside, got a little bit too close to the wall, came down. He hits McRae, who goes down, then tags the 38 of Hunter King, and that's a huge hit with the 91 who pile drives his way in, and there was nowhere for both the 13 and the 12 to go, and that one was ugly.
Absolutely, the 1 managed to dodge that one just enough, but poor 38 tipped into the outside wall. That's not a vision you like.
Not a good spot for him, and we talked about some of those drivers trickling down to the pit lane for service. Well, there's a lot more cars down onto the pit lane once more. And again, it is mainly for damage repair. Don't think that anybody at this point in the race wants to necessarily start going for your only 2 sets of tires down onto pit road. Of course, if you get yellows every 10 to 15 laps, it's not going to be that big of a factor on the strategy. I think you see drivers in closer to lap 80 or so, 160, and you can kind of split this race into thirds with your 2 stops. Your race leader still disciplined, only a fifth of the way into this one, and really I think those drivers that I mentioned mid-pack in a lot of spots, they're gaining them all by just not having to come down and fix damage. You keep that car clean, you're going to do a lot.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. I'll tell you this. When you're just out there trying to make laps, you don't want to get involved in these skirmishes, and a guy like Sean Wilder was just minding his own business. All of a sudden, he sees 3 wide in front of him. That's not a good thing, but these cars go so fast. Around this racetrack, you have so little time to react to the things that happen in front of you, and just chaos and a completely blocked racetrack, I should say. If you're Sean Wilder, you pile in, there's not much you can do. You can hit the brakes. It's not going to matter. You're closing in on these guys so quickly. Just a nightmare for a lot of these guys that want to try and take it easy, and I'm seeing some of these guys do want to go easy. They don't want to go full out right now, but you're sort of at the mercy of your competitors, and if your competitors want to push and they want to go hard, what are you going to do? You got to do that. You can't get out of the way here. There's nowhere to hide. So that's what I see, and really the big thing is the different entry points into the corner. These guys are struggling to not really hit each other that hard, so you got to judge your entry point, not use the guy's back bumpers where you start hitting the brakes.
The quarter entry has been one of those treacherous spots on track, with a lot of drivers maybe rolling the entry a little bit better than some others who were a lot more aggressive, and hit has led to a couple of pairs of contact thus far. So we will see if maybe everybody gets on the same page a little bit better. It is important to note that, Bristol itself is a very difficult racetrack. I think it may be obviously different than many of the other ones we see on the calendar, but it is only week 4 as well, Rachel, of this SESRA series, so I don't think these drivers are necessarily all that familiar with one another. I think they're still kind of working each other out, trying to figure out how who drives and, in turn, how you race against them, so maybe that's a combination of why we're seeing that.
Absolutely. You got to read the body language of the other cars in a race with you, and that's one of the things you'll pick up over the time of a series. The more and more familiar you get with drivers, the more and more you know how they race. You learn how they race, and sometimes that can take a season or 2. Some drivers it takes 1 or 2 races, but everyone's different, and unfortunately, until everyone's on the same page, you'll get these little miscommunications, and a lot of this isn't, lack of skill, it's just reading the other car's language.
And we'll see how they read it this time. Pace car at it in. It is going to be a slow start this time for Spencer Preet. Still works. He'll lead to turn number 1. Not going to be as good of a jump as we saw last time for Kyle Vincent Gilbert. Jeff Ward defends 2nd. Gilbert will be 3rd. And the fight is on for 4th and 5th. And behind them, side by side as well, for 6 and 7. Huge run on the outside for John Johnson. Takes it away from Cozy.
Good little scramble here. Got a battle up front. Got a battle for 4th, 5th, 6th. The points leader, Paulson, on the outside lane there, trying to keep a clean nose. He's avoided a lot of the incidents that have happened around him, and that's good when you're the points leader. You don't want to get swept up in something early on, and everyone sort of gets single file now for at least the first 6 or 7 rows, because that's the 16. Steve Ritter poking a nose out side by side behind him of Zachary Sprung and Mike Montesi as well in the 7, making a big move on the bottom. You got to be careful down there. But everything seemingly pretty calm, or at least a little bit calmer by comparison. What we've seen is John Johnson now side by side with Paulson. Good battle there for 4th.
Yeah, the battle right now is for that number 4 spot on the inside of the racetrack. How about that one? Just moments after Johnson uses the outside to pass Cozy, it is the number 5 at Eric Paulson to take that spot right back away, but on the bottom of the racetrack. So the inside may be an option for those first few laps off of the restart while you try to get the heat back into those tires, because once he cleared him, he didn't stay low. Paulson jumps right back up to the outside of the racetrack, and it'll leave the fight between Cozy and Montesi. The 99 hits the fence a little bit there, and it'll just help him rotate in the corner. That's one way to do it.
There's one method here. In fact, there is a technique at Bristol. Oh, 7 gets contact, gets into the apron, holds on to it, just about recovers his position. In fact, the car behind him let him take the position back. That's racing sportsmanship right there. But there is actually a technique at Bristol to qualify fast, where you do tap the outside wall with the rear quarter panel. So it can be done. even in race conditions, to make you faster. Normally it's about, if you're coming through turn 2, you want to be hitting just about where the monster sign is with the back quarter panel, and you can rotate off the corner much faster.
Yeah, and it's certainly a thing that we've seen some drivers utilize. Funny that we talk about them getting so far up and against the outside of ball, and at least down at that end of the racetrack, the majority of the field was down low towards the apron. And a good example is this fight that we're looking at with the 0-1 of Travis Brown and a 7 of Mike Montesi in it. Both of them pretty even. Obviously, the advantage for the inside is going down in 2 and then the center of the quarter. And the 0-1 gets all that time back on exit. All you need to do is, if you're Montesi right there, you got to clear him. If you're willing to make the move, push up, block him, and kind of go for the slide job. Now, 71 laps into 250, I get it. Don't wreck 2 race cars, try to battle for that position. But later on, right there, when he clears him, you got to move up. But I think that was Travis Brown just kind of admitting defeat in that battle. Montesi wins out for 8th.
Yeah, that's good racecraft right there for getting around Bristol. Montesi using the bottom really, really well in that 7 car. The Kohler painted scheme, I like that paint scheme. That is really sharp, especially under the lights here. The black with the blue looking good on the 7 car. Sort of partial to number 7 anyway, so I like that. As he takes over another spot from the 24, Mike Montesi on the charge. Now goes side by side with Michael Cozy Jr. in the 99, who's using the extremely high / wall line, I guess you could say. But Montesi in the 7, my God, a lot of speed under the hood of that 7 car.
Hey, he's hustling. You remember, he almost got tagged to get involved in an accident, and again, he works on the inside of the racetrack also, so maybe take a note of what's been going on up front. Michael Cozy Jr. is going to be passed. I don't think the 99 Machida really wants to fight all that much. Probably could have thrown it to the inside there. Instead, opts not to. And maybe Cozy working with a little bit of damage also. He hasn't relinquished a ton of track position to make multiple trips to pit road like some other drivers have. So maybe not necessarily at 100% with front and back end damage. But yeah, Mike Montesi started 20th position in this race. That's an important position to note because that means that he was the first driver in queue to not take a time to qualify. As the battle for the race lead is on once more. This time it's Mark Arthur getting around Preet and challenging for P1.
Certainly is there, and that's going to make it very interesting. Mark Arthur pushing as hard as he can at the moment. Not quite past yet. Gives a bit of a bump to the 9. Lets Jeff Ward know he's there. No, he's faster. Gets inside Jeff Ward's head there as he gets a look underneath him coming out of turn 2. Good momentum. Carries the speed, but it's going to be advantage 9. Coming into 3 and 4, though up he goes. He made him driving too hard. 12 gets the pass done, but 9 comes back and responds across the line up to the inside. Can he hold the same speed? No, he cannot. He just slips back. He dove it in a bit too hard, and it's kind of that yo-yo effect of just carrying too much in, and you lose it out. But there you go.
Well, certainly not showing that this racetrack is at this moment one groove or anything. Drivers are able to utilize both. It was point of discussion that we chatted about before the race, if it was strictly going to be the outside line or if the inside stood a chance. And I still think the outside is the better place to be. But, you know, with all of that being said, I think that overall, I think you have a legitimate shot at making a pass down low. I wouldn't stay down low the whole time, but, I mean, you want to talk about somebody on rails. Mark Arthur gets to the race lead and just absolutely checks out. He's now more than a second in front of Jeff Ward. It'll be the first one of our race leaders to get into that thick lap traffic now as he starts to catch the back of the field.
You know why he's tearing through the field? It's new tires. He's on new tires. He pitted. He was in a multitude of wrecks. He came down pit road, got some of the damage fixed, but put on new tires, and I think that's why we saw Mike Montesi driving through the field as well. Mark Arthur on new tires, and that is the difference right there. We talked about earlier in the show, 60 to 70 laps is about the distance you want to push these tires before they really start to lose their grip. Well, those leaders, guys like Spencer Preet and Jeff Ward, are on their original tires they took the green flag with. Mark Arthur's on new ones, and you see the value of fresh rubber as he is pulled away by a pretty large margin, almost 2 seconds now.
Yeah, he's pulled away a good bit, and obviously anybody could come down and get the fresh tires. You're good now. The concern is, obviously, when your race leaders, or I guess your former race leaders now, get fresh tires later in this race, then they will obviously be better later. But if this race goes green, you never know what happens. You put yourself in a very good position, and I mean, the drasticness of this speed difference is something that note. Again, now it's almost 3 seconds between Jeff Ward and your race leader, Mark Arthur, and I think it doesn't help that now Ward and Preet are dealing with the lap traffic that the 12 has already navigated. That's going to be, I think, a huge factor in this race, and it's kind of like, well, no duh, Bristol, a lot of traffic, but I mean, there's tons of time on a racetrack that you can give up or lose. Some of it has to do with how well you negotiate the traffic, but a lot of it comes down to just how unlucky you are where you catch them on the racetrack.
And luck is one of those major factors really in this sort of racing, and it will always be a factor. But you know what? Taking tyres a little bit earlier than everybody else is a good investment. It gets you further forwards in that field and out of that risk zone. You can get ahead of the guys in front of you. You can get out front, sure. But yeah, they get new tyres. You might lose 1 or 2 spots, 3. But you're still at the front of the field where things are more spread out. Is a safer bet.
Yeah, certainly I would like to be up and have space to have navigate traffic, and Derek Paulson's involved, and he will take Michael Cozy Jr. with him. Somebody else just went sliding through. That was Steve Ritter in the 16 who's able to avoid it, but you saw the 5 of Paulson just as he got involved at the incident, and that's lap traffic, the 88 machine. And listen, Derek Paulson, I mean, if you're the 88 of Johnson, you got to stay up on the outside. I mean, yeah, you're running your own line, yeah, but when you got a fast car down low, you can't be 3 car lengths off of the wall, and the result is the 5 hits him, obviously expecting that car to be a lot higher up, and with a 99 guessed high, and unfortunately, that's where Paulson was sliding, and Cozy also involved. Those are 2 fast cars taken out.
That's rough. That is, you're Derek Paulson right now. You are just beside yourself because you think, all right, we're working through the traffic, I'm following Mike Montesi, and then all of a sudden, something you don't expect happens, and you don't have time to react. And that's the thing, as a race car driver, you sort of have an expectation of how the lap traffic is going to get around the track and how much room they're going to leave you. And if a guy that's using that high lane, he's going to stay up against the wall, especially on exit and down the straightaway, and there just wasn't enough room, and Paulson sort of expected one thing, the opposite happened, and the next thing you know, he's being carried into the inside wall, collecting Michael Cozy Jr. Big change of fortune there. Derek Paulson, your points leader, tied for the points lead coming into tonight, had avoided most of the chaos up to this point, but now that's going to bring everybody down pit road.
Well, it is just past that 1/3 distance marker, so no surprise that the rest of your race leaders are going to be in for service. Good way to kind of identify who's already gotten tires, because all of those who stay out, Mike Montesi, as well as maybe looks like actually the 7's going to be the only driver. He stays out. You've also got the majority of everybody else down pit road. I would expect, certainly that call is going to be 4 tires.
Yeah, certainly at this stage. I don't think there's anybody taking 2. But, could be an option, to be fair. You've got 2 sets. Take 2 on the left early on. Maybe then take a full set, then take another left set later on. Because it's still 8 tires total, right? Does that work?
I mean, you could try it, but I don't know if I'd recommend it. And what you'll see here now is everybody cycles back up and onto the racetrack, and scoring at the top of your screen, get an update as it cycles through, is that obviously Mike Montesi is going to be a sitting duck now, David, up front.
Yeah, he'll be a sitting duck, and, you know, that's the intrigue that comes with this tire allotment rule that SESRA puts into place, and some guys are going to choose to take their tires now and be good for a little bit. Some guys took their tires earlier, and they'll be off the pace a little bit, but then they'll get new tires sooner. So it keeps the speed differential throughout the field up in the air throughout an entire run. And, you know, sometimes we saw, well, I guess back to Charlotte, because I missed Darlington last week, but back to Charlotte, Jeff Ward used tire strategy to his advantage and got a win when tire strategy was used by others that didn't play out in their favor. Here at Bristol, we've seen tires do matter. It was, what, 2-3 seconds after a few laps of new tires versus old tires. So something to keep an eye on. But, yeah, the driver of the 7 right now has got to be feeling quite a bit sheepish out front on those old tires.
Yeah, they are at the moment 66 lap old tires for the driver of the number 7 machine. After he came down and got fresh tires much earlier on in this one, he is going to have to go head-to-head with all fresh tires pretty much around him. Spencer Preet on the outside of the front row. The 00 machine, I believe, also on the 4 tires. He'll lead that charge, and indeed he is. So just watch the difference on how they're able to accelerate here. The 7 might launch first, but watch the speed down the quarter number 1 as Montesi tries to figure it out. He does get the jump, but getting through the gears, they're already back even. And watch this first time into the quarter. Not even close. easy for Spencer Preet. Top side, it'll be Mark Arthur into second, and Jeff Ward should be third shortly.
Certainly will be, and that 7's just going backwards like he's got an anchor tied to him at the moment. That is not what he wanted to see, but he has gained spots, to be fair, by staying out, so he's, again, safer from the danger zone mid-pack, but, well, he's heading back towards it quite quickly.
And he's in a tough position by making that strategy call in the first place because he can't simply just come down. Oh, and the 9's going to get punted. Jeff Ward gets dumped by Travis Brown, and there is a caution just after we went back green, and it is going to be the second time this evening that into the corner. It is Travis Brown, who obviously likes to drive it in a lot harder, gets into the back of somebody, and he sent Ward for a ride.
Oh, that is rough. You're going to see this on the replay brought to you by Brett Wheeler, doing a nice job. Got a lot to look at, Brett. We appreciate the camera angles. Just overcharges the corner completely, does Travis Brown. Gets into the back of the 9. He tries to save it, Jeff Ward does, and overcorrects just a little bit. Out into the wall he goes. Doesn't appear to be too much damage to the front end of the Arctic Ford Fusion there, but certainly not something you want to experience when you're sitting there in third place. You know, expect to be turned around like that on corner entry, but there you go, guys. Attacking these corners differently, that's what you see as a result. Tough break for Jeff Ward, but he's got to win, and I bet you he can get back to being competitive here still tonight.
Yeah, I mean, for as hard as he got hit, and obviously it's the contact into the back end of the car, but then also he goes back up and into the outside wall, never good. But if there's one of the tracks that you can do an okay job at, still be a viable threat at with damage, I think Bristol's pretty close to the top of that list. But again, not at all surprised that the incident comes from the differing I guess, approaches into the corner. We had just talked about it in quite some depth right to about 2-3 caution flags ago. You know, drivers trying to figure out what everybody else does, what their driving styles are here, particularly how you enter the corner. And something tells me with 101 laps completed or 250, that's not going to be the last time we've got contact diving down and into a corner.
Absolutely not. No, this is going to happen quite a bit during this race. It's one of those things with Bristol. 149 laps left. That's going to be a lot of cautions, I'm feeling. But the field will fit itself out eventually. A couple of retirees already in the types of Justin Bolton, Brian McRae, Douglas Johnson appears to be down on pit road more permanently, Derek Paulson, Sean Wilder as well. A couple of guys still out on the racetrack though, but it's going to be one of these factors. We see these guys just losing time and losing their position. It'll happen. It's unfortunate, but the field will whittle down and suddenly it'll get greener.
Question is, how long till we go back into green flag racing conditions? And we're also not that far from halfway, so 24 laps from now we will be at the cross flags point. At that point, we'll take a full look top to bottom at your midway race break, but should just note as this race continues on that Justin Bolton in the 76 is the only driver so far that has officially retired from this race and brought that car behind the wall. Even Brian McRae, tip of the cap, 35 car, is 33 laps down. A lot of damage. But still on pit road and to constantly try to get that car fixed.
You got to try. I mean, every point is so valuable in a championship like this. 20 weeks. This is race number 4. You got to get everything you can, and you get into early incidents. And I know these guys were thinking about it coming into tonight, Evan. Bristol, a good chance for wrecks. Obviously, they've done a good job of honoring what we expected, but you got to prepare for that and then figure out or have a contingency plan of how you get around any incidents that you get involved in to extract as many points as you can from this event, because you may have better events down the road to get a good points day, but you come in here hoping just to get as best you can, I guess, as it's going to be Mark Arthur and Spencer Preet making up your front row for this next restart.
And the lights on the pace car are off, so the restart is due up. And a lot of familiar faces towards the front of the field in this one. Biggest mover, Mike Montesi, though. 7 Machine restarts from P5. A green flag in the air. Kyle Vincent Gilbert, professional third-place race starter, again. Going to challenge to the inside to try to get second. But Mark Arthur barely keeps it nose, and now they're side by side.
Gotta say, I love that nickname, professional third-place restarter, but he's making a good job of it, and possibly a career there. The 12, though, carrying around the outside. Mark Arthur holding it on. Of course, this lets Spencer Preet get away a little bit more than he has done so far. Unfortunately, Vincent Gilbert's career might be a little bit early. Don't give up the day job. Back behind them, though, so everyone's doing fairly spaced out here. They're not trying to get too close, although it's getting a little busy back around 10th place.
And around P10 is kind of where it's going to be a lot more difficult for drivers to separate and get a little bit of, wiggle room per se. Up front, Preet, Arthur, Gilbert, Ritter, and Ward, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as we start to get shades of a little bit more spread out racing every time we restart, with a little bit less sheet metal involved with all the cars left on the racetrack. A lot of side-by-side, ninth on back. Mike Montesi, who slid a good margin there. The 21 machine to Zachary Sprung, trying to snatch another one away from him. You've got the 0 to Travis Brown, the 86 of Jay Greaves Jr. To be fair, we haven't talked a ton about. 86 got a nice-looking festive ride as well, so shout out to him also.
And the 86 looking real nice. The dark Reese's scheme looking good. Got the pumpkins and some ghosts and everything else you'd want to see as we get ready for the Halloween season. Probably a lot of guys saying boo as they come out of this race, and maybe not to try and scare somebody, but just because they're unhappy with the overall end result, as Derek Paulson works his way off of pit road. Again, want to highlight that's the points leader coming into tonight, and rough go here. A lot of damage to the 5 car as he just exits pit road many laps down. But good side-by-side battle here. 2 rows deep. Mike Montesi on the outside, trying to make it work in the 7 car, the 21 down low. Zachary Sprung. This guy's showing some good discipline here, keeping a lot of room between the two of themselves.
And you're going to go on aboard here with the 0 to Travis Brown on the outside and see what it's like to lap around this place. And I think it's a good shot, because I was just about to mention that I don't know how well the camera's going to portray how crazy it is to be behind the wheel of one of these things, going side by side, lap by lap at Bristol. They're straightaway, sure, but it's not like other racetracks where you can use those straights to kind of stretch out, relax, and then prepare for the next time out of the corner. It is non-stop. And you see the 7 and the 21 finally figure out that fight as the Zachary Sprung tucks up in line, and Travis Brown, a beautiful move, catches him sleeping, slides to the inside, and takes it away.
Oh, nicely done by him there. That's exactly what you want to do in this sort of position. Travis Brown making a great run with that. 7 goes up high into the fence there. No, not quite. 21 goes through as well here. Zachary Sprung. 7 will slot back down. Mike Montesi still hemorrhaging spots there on those old tyres. Brown keeping it moving. 86 of Graves Jr. I like that. It's a Halloween scheme with a guy called Graves. That's kind of perfect.
Exactly. He's right in the mix here, side by side with Montesi. And I think the 7 machine really likes the outside. There's going to be contact behind them. The 91 machine is the one who gets tagged and is going to go all the way around. A huge hit. Sean Wilder.
You saw that one coming, Evan. As your voice sort of amped up in excitement, you saw what was about to happen, guys. Just you can't make that work. I don't care what happens. You get run into the back like that. Sean Wilder, just an absolute innocent victim there, gets hit by Jason Taylor in the 51. They come back together off the exit at 2. 91 gets hooked in the right rear into the outside wall, collects Michael Cozy Jr. Derek Paulson's miserable evening continues. He gets caught up in yet another event. Here on the backstretch, just another parking lot, and caution will fly here again, lap 116.
Now the yellow and, poor Sean Wilder got tagged twice after really not doing anything wrong. The 13 machine absolutely nowhere to go. He got involved, and of course, behind that incident, Michael Cozy Jr. slams on the brakes, and Derek Paulson, who's been having a bad night, sends him into the inside wall. So starting to seem like no matter how many incidents we have, it's that same group of drivers that just cannot catch a break.
Yeah, not at all. But it's that kind of pack of the field. It's that middle section where things just get too busy, Evan.
And even, those few laps that we got on off of the restart, and in fact, that was probably the calmest that group of cars had been since they had gone back green. We were talking about the, 2 sets of 2x2. They had really just negotiated all of that, and all it comes down to is one driver has to slow up. It's the same way traffic's caused on the freeway, just the repercussions at Bristol are a little bit more spectacular, if you will. And then as the one car slows down, the car behind him slams on the brake. And in this case, well, we're doing about 200 miles an hour, not 70, and all the cars pile into one another. All it takes, one driver to check up. I promise you there'll be a mess.
Bristol is one of the few tracks where you will spend more time closer to the back bumper of your competitors than any other track. Places like Atlanta, Charlotte, Auto Club, Michigan, any of those other ovals, bigger ovals, you will not have these packs of cars so close to each other like you see here at Bristol. Everybody's right on top of each other. So the reaction time required to miss something, if it happens in front of you, is minuscule. These guys tap the brakes because somebody changes lanes real suddenly. We've seen guys dive from the top down to the bottom, and the guy that gets affected by that taps his brakes because he's just reacting, and the guy behind him Cannot expect that to happen. Goes into the back of him. That's what happens here at Bristol. Those chain reaction type incidents that just sort of compile through the whole field. Is the accordion effect. You know, Martinsville's a little bit different. It's a flat track, but guys run into the back of each other, and it stacks from there. Here at Bristol, you have all this banking, and that just completely throws everything out of control for these drivers. When the rear end slides or whatever happens, they're trying to keep up with the steering. It's almost impossible. We saw that happen with Sean Wilder. You're just an innocent victim. Somebody runs in the back of you. You're not bringing that car back.
Can only do so much. You know, skill gives you a lot. It's a big upper hand, don't get me wrong, but when you're in those situations where there's cars sliding and smoke everywhere and people trying to avoid an accident, only so much is in your hands for certain. The light should go out this time by. We are just shy of taking the halfway point in this race. Of course, maybe next yellow we'll get an opportunity to recap the field for you. Right now, 14 of the 22 cars who started this race still actively scored on the lead lap. As the pace car going to get down and out of the way, it is once again Preet in control, and surprise, surprise, behind him, the 227, Kyle Vincent Gilbert just so happens to be third for this restart in what is an increasingly worse-looking Chevrolet Camaro after he's been through the ringer tonight. But the cars in the front row look pretty clean. We'll see how long that lasts as the 12 machine pulls right up alongside and trying to guesstimate when the 00 goes. Spencer Preet, good job. Waited for the 12 to roll back to him. Put the right foot down. He'll lead in 1 and 2. The fight for second in favor of Mark Arthur.
Yeah, it's a good start, but mid-pack once again very dense here, and the guy's just really shuffling about, trying to make those moves on the low side. The old tire's really not helping it.
You're just not doing yourself any favors, and we talked about the strategy. Drivers within about 40 or so laps, 60 laps maybe, of when you would expect that final trip down to the pit lane to come. So we'll obviously keep an eye on how the grand picture plays out, but it is Preet, Arthur, and Gilbert 1, 2, and 3. Jeff Ward, kind of a resurgence after having some struggles here as of late. He wants to get in on the action. Gilbert decides not to go low on Arthur, and now he puts himself at the fate of the 9 car. Let's see if Ward wants to make something happen. Second on the back, not a lot of spacing.
If I know Jeff Ward half as well as I think I do just in seeing him race for a couple of weeks now, he's not going to be content. He dives to the bottom, makes a big move on KVG there, side by side for third behind Mark Arthur, who looks up in his rearview mirror and says, my God, I got to get away from these guys. They're fighting real hard behind me. But Jeff Ward recovering nicely from that earlier incident, again, where he got put into the outside wall, the front end of the Ford Mustang hanging tough. Doing a real nice job in fourth, and probably not done as Mark Arthur now slides to the top. Here comes Kyle Vincent Gilbert down low for second, side by side off of 2.
Side by side they come, the advantage on the outside because of all the speed. They carry on contact. Gilbert pushed up right across the nose of the 12 car, and look at the 9 on the outside. Jeff Ward, who had nothing to do with all of that, he'll get 2 spots in 1 lap, and that fight is not even going to be over. Instead, though, it's relegated to a fight for third and fourth now.
Is contact going to be the most used word of this entire race? I think it probably is. Battle though for that position, getting really heated out. 850-01 and getting involved in this too. Travis Brown showing some real speed so far.
He's doing a very good job, and I think consistency as well going to be a key for him to be able to keep this up and maybe try to get a decent result out of this one if it is still possible with a lot still left to go in this race. He's kind of at the back end of this group of a handful of cars that can't get away from each other. Gilbert does eventually win out in that fight with Mark Arthur, so third and fourth position going to be exchanged. Then there's Ritter fifth, and then the fight with Butcher Benjamin and Brown 6 and 7. A lot of cars, though, still within a second of each other. Fourth all the way through 8th. Pretty much throw a blanket over him.
Staying in single file and fairly tidy, but I tell you what, the driver of the number 12, Dr. Squatch Chevy Camaro, might have put a Sasquatch-type move on Kyle Vincent Gilbert if he gets to his back bumper again. He was not happy. I could just tell by the way he was hounding Kyle Vincent Gilbert after that move where Kyle Vincent Gilbert sort of moved up a little bit in the middle of the corner and kind of gave him the right rear fender to clear himself. That does not make you happy as a race car driver when that happens to you. So we'll keep an eye on that. But other than that, there's a nice little scramble now. 4 cars under a blanket. John Johnson right in the middle with the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, I should say, and the 16 of Steve Ritter. Also tack Travis Brown in that 0-1 there, that little quadruple group of drivers working the way around side by side.
And it's hard to miss Steve Ritter because just how bright that orange number 16 machine is. But to be honest, we haven't talked a ton about it, but I think that's why the race car is pretty clean. He started 16th in this one. He's kind of followed Mark Arthur up into the field a tad bit, and Steve Ritter's done a very good job at pacing himself, now past halfway, to make his first appearance in the top 5.
Yes, and he has. And Ritter's definitely showed a lot of performance. Oh, 24 down to the apron. Holds it, though. No caution.
Somehow, lucky call there. They were 3 wide, lap traffic. And John Johnson, I don't think, recognized that that car in the middle was going to be staying low to accommodate it. Now we got a wreck hard into the outside wall. It is the 21 of Zachary Sprung, and there is thick black smoke pouring out of the back of that car. Never a good sign, as what we look at on the LSRTV replay will show that it looked like Graves came off of the wall a little bit. Tag Sprung. That's a hard hit into the inside wall, and nowhere to go as Hunter A. King clears him out.
Absolutely vicious hit for Sprung. That is absolutely one of the hardest hits you will see here at Bristol when that car comes off the outside wall. And we've seen that a few times here tonight already, Evan, that same sort of equation play out where a guy on the outside gets into the outside wall just a little bit and he tugs that steering wheel to the left to bring it off the wall. Well, there's a car right next to you. You can't really do that. And you get into him and the momentum just slams him into the inside wall. Tough break for Sprung. That's heartbreak for the 21.
And obviously, the positions are going to be changing all night. They have been to this point, so best advice, keep your eyes at the top of your screen. You'll know what's going on. But since we have passed the halfway point in tonight's Gladiator 250, let's take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and so many more. At lap 139, it is Spencer Preet, your race leader. He leads Jeff Ward in second, along with Kyle Vincent Gilbert still third, Mark Arthur fourth, and Steve Ritter rounding out your top 5. Just behind him, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, highest the 8 Chevy's been all night. He has scored in P6. Travis Brown still hanging out in 7th position. Jay Graves Jr. in 8th. Also, you have the number 1 machine of Tyler Pinisso in 9th, and Matt Ridgway rounds out your top 10.
P11 tonight, of course, is Jason Taylor with Mike Montesi having slid back to 12th place, but he's still up 8 places starting at 20th. John Johnson in 13th. Hunter A. King with Wally Wilson in 15th place. Zachary Sprung in the 16th spot with Michael Cozy Jr. all the way back from 9th to 17th. Sean Wilder in 18th, just going off pit road. Derek Paulson in 19th. 20th is Brian McRae.
The rest of these drivers, I think we got Douglas Johnson, Justin Bolton. Your final 2 drivers are 22. They've all had their fair share. They might be retired from the event as well. So put them on the hook. They're done for tonight, a DNF for those guys. So 14 cars on the lead lap right now. Evan, 1 car, 1 lap down. Points leader Derek Paulson having a fair share of problems, running 19th right now. So some things are going to change with all this contact. Paulson probably not going to come out of this race with the points lead, but all that means is somebody can take advantage and jump up and put themselves atop the pylon for the point standings.
Yeah, he came into tonight tied with Sean Wilder. Well, Paulson's 19th, Wilder is 17th. So Kaya Vincent Gilbert, who was 3rd at the points and 3rd on track right now, could certainly be set to gain the most if he can pull another 108 laps out of this race from Bristol. That being said, that's been a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. Reset button, and it is no longer like those first couple of restarts on the night where it was completely different cast of characters each time through. We got a good idea that these drivers wanted to go another 40 laps or so on tires. And I think we've kind of identified the 4 or 5 cars up front to get a battle for the race win at Bristol. The 00 Spencer Preet's been pretty much undefeated on the restarts tonight. Let's see if the 00 can pull another good one out of the hat. For the inside of the racetrack, he does. He'll lead as we take the green and get back away from Bristol. But look at Gilbert trying to do something with the 9 of Jeff Ward. I think the 9's going to be too good off of 2, and yes, he is. He'll be able to safely stay in second, but a big dive to the inside, trying to make a surprise attack on a 00.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting at this point as behind him, Vincent Gilbert attacked by the 12 of Mark Arthur. 16 down low, Steve Ritter. He's all over this thing at the moment, and wow, 9 car, Jeff Ward making that move to the inside of 00. Can't get momentum to make anything happen here. desperately trying there. 16 losing quite a few spots on the low side. Time to find a little spot on the top and just run some laps, Mr. Ritter, because you're just losing a lot down there. Can't quite gain anything back at this stage. Behind them, very spread out towards the rear. This one, these guys just riding now to save position. The 9 hounded the 00.
He's absolutely hounding him, and maybe Jeff Ward, tired of restarting on the outside of the front row and wants to put some pressure on Spencer Preet. You get all over the back of him, maybe force him into a mistake, make something happen. Jeff Ward still, though, since the very opening laps of this race, it has been Spencer Preet and Jeff Ward, 1-2, in either sort of listing between those guys. Sometimes Ward's been in front, oftentimes Preet's been in front. But at the 9 machine, the constant has been, he's never really gone all the way up the hill at all, David. We, said the restart would be an option on restarts, and maybe it would come in late, but, I mean, he's pretty committed to it, and he runs in second, so I guess it's a good strategy call so far.
If you can make it work, don't change a thing. Jeff Ward, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about him getting hooked and sent to the outside wall head first. And that number 9 Arctic Ford Mustang, I should say, has been responding quite well after the damage. Maybe helped it go a little bit faster, I don't know, but he is a driver breathing fire right now here at Bristol as he tries to track down Spencer Preet. I think, if I'm keeping track of all the cars that have had an incident here tonight or been caught up in a wreck of some variety, Spencer Preet is probably the one name that we haven't talked about yet, and I think that's because he's been out front for most of this thing.
Yeah, and we mentioned at the very start as well, how important is qualifying going to be? You qualify up front, you stay out of the trouble, and certainly Spencer Preet has bought into that mentality. The only time he really hasn't been first or second is obviously when we saw a little bit of a pit variance and some other cars, fresher tires, suckle to the front. Once he got his fresh tires, he got that race lead back in, maybe 10 seconds off of the restart, blowing it on the outside. So certainly these are your 2 best cars. Third place, Kyle Vincent Gilbert. That's a big jump, though, from the top 2. He's 1.8 seconds back in third, and I'm sure he's enjoying it. Clean air, nobody really around him. They'll take it, but certainly Preet Ward, top 2 cars all night, and unless something changes quickly here, I don't see anybody else challenging those 2. They're just by far and large class of the field.
Yeah, they certainly are. They've just really had a great performance tonight and did a phenomenal job here, and it's lasting so far. Once you work out speed around Bristol, it's a huge advantage. The 1 moving up on the 8th of Butcher Benjamin right now. He's not managed to make the move yet, but he's nearly at it. 227 there, taps the wall. Kyle Vincent Gilbert looked a little intentional there, so maybe he's learning.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to figure out, or has finally figured out, maybe I should say, what the deal is with all those drivers going way up top and bouncing off of the wall just a little bit. Just help that car rotate. You can't wall ride all the way around, but if you can get it to help the car rotate, why not? As we see a battle now for third, it's Mark Arthur, who's nowhere near the wall by diving all the way down to the inside of the racetrack. He's the one applying the pressure, and look how close Gilbert was that time to the outside wall. Mere inches from getting into it, and, well, that's what you call maximizing the speed off.
Rim riding, running high, wide, and handsome is Kyle Vincent Gilbert in the 227. As we jump on board with that driver now, you get to see just how close he gets to that outside wall, knowing he's got Mark Arthur eating up the bottom lane there in the number 12. Side by side, great battle here, and you see how the 2 lanes work really well as Kyle Vincent Gilbert continues to leverage the good run up against the wall, that black wall, very intimidating as you get right out near it, but it is your friend if you can get out there, hook the right side up in that little bit of a cushion between the top of the rubber and the wall. Really gives you a great run off these corners.
It does, and that's why at the end of the day, the inside can challenge, yes, but in this fight for what is third and fourth, and even in the fight with the race lead first and second, the inside can make noise, but we haven't seen the inside be good enough to make up for it, and oh, how tight they were that time. Mark Arthur, the problem when you're side by side like this is not only Gilbert getting a run off of the corner, but you're getting enough next to him in the corner that you can't even swing that car all the way up to the wall on exit, so he loses speed off of the corner because he's on the bottom end because he's pinched, but a yellow comes out.
Trying to work out where that was on the racetrack. Not quite sure who had an incident yet. Everyone seems to be running at the moment, so small incident somewhere.
Whatever had happened, it's been gone quickly. We're trying to get an eye on this one, and it is the 1 car, I believe, of Tyler Pinsino, who was running in P10, and he had some help. It was Steve Ritter In a 16 machine got into the left rear. That car went sideways and then pretty much instantly saved it. The replay will show that we've had far less than that get away without a yellow tonight. That time, though, just so happens to trigger the caution.
I was just about to say, we've had bigger incidents not draw the yellow, so for some reason that one did, and I'm sure Tyler Pinsino is very glad that it did because he hates to lose all that time otherwise, but just one of those typical Bristol deals. Guy gets into the corner a little bit harder, tries to run a little bit lower lane, can't get slowed up. Momentum carries the car up the racetrack into the left rear quarter panel of that car on the outside lane, and unfortunately for Tyler, that was him, and around he goes. Steve Ritter, I'm sure, feels bad for that one, but that's Bristol. That's the way it goes.
Look at the draw. Someone's got to get hit at some point. That's just the nature of Bristol, and that time by, it just happened to be used. So, interesting scenario here with the pit lane opening. Thought maybe a lot more of your top runners would come down to the pit lane with about 90 laps to go or so in this race. Of course, they haven't yet run 90 laps on these tires, so maybe waiting to make the split a little bit nicer. But we are certainly at that point now, Rachel, where you pit tires, you're going to be able to go to the end on them. They're going to suck. I mean, we mentioned earlier that after 60 laps, you can't really rely on them for anywhere near optimum grip levels. And of course, the reason these drivers have not been coming down and getting tires with all these yellows is because in this SESRA series, only 2 sets of tires available tonight, and that's a number that fluctuates week by week. But I would not at all be surprised somebody go for it now, try to get some track position. I still think the later call would be the better one.
Yeah, I think waiting to perhaps the next caution, maybe 10, 20 laps might be a good idea. It's possible, but I'd like to be a little bit closer to the end if possible, because just having that grip, it matters so much here for late defense.
And just kind of looking at the running order to see if anybody did decide to come down. Doesn't look like any major players decided to take that leap. Of course, talking about intervals and pit stop times and all that good a time as any to remind you that coverage of the SESRA series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim, behind the wheel, on the pit box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is the go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself a basic download for free or get the full pro version today. Log on to their website for more information at joel-real-timing.com for more information. Official timing partner of LSRTV. And, well, of course, we reached this point when we crossed the halfway point, but I think it's getting a lot real now because less than 100 laps to go. Starting to count down towards the end of this Gladiator 250 in a battle. It certainly has been, but if you look at prior Bristol races, it seems like the drama late always, just in whatever way possible, is able to up what we've seen in the earlier halves. Let's see if that is also going to be the case this evening. We restart in a very familiar order with the double O with Spencer Preet in control, but it looks like the double O going to select the outside line this time through. It'll put Jeff Ward on the bottom. Kyle Vincent Gilbert still third, with Mark Arthur and Travis Brown rounding out your top 5. So let's see what the double O can do on the outside. Just as good as any. He'll lead to turn 1, and this could be great news for Mark Arthur. Maybe that's the decision that they made. Look at the 12 car trying to fight for P2.
No, it's getting very close here. The 12 car just up on the high side. Better lane for him there over the 9. Takes that position there. 9 coming back at him. Will he have a chance? Not even close. The 9 has to slot back up in 3rd place. And that's the problem starting 2nd place here at Bristol. It's always a problem. There's, oh, nearly contact there between the 12 and the 9. As the 9 goes round the top, the 12 went down low. Behind them, 227 and the 7 side by side. So, wow. Montesi's really recovered himself here. Was this an interesting... oh, I think he has got tyres again. So it's an early tyre call for Montesi, which is shaking him forwards.
It should have put him towards the front, and if he did take tires, it must have been at least 2 yellows ago, trying to keep an eye to see if he did, but last time he didn't, got to the race lead, and then didn't have the tires. Later on, you got these fresh tires as of 30 laps ago, so he has taken all of the tires available. But one point I want to make, with Mark Arthur and Spencer Preet there on that restart, both of those drivers are Rebellion Racing teammates. If Spencer Preet starts down low, and Mark Arthur's on the outside of row 2 and 4th, he'll probably be maybe 3rd at best or 4th, but with Spencer Preet going to the outside, I think those 2 drivers coordinated that start, and while Mark Arthur has fallen right back down to P4, it worked off of the bat because they went to 1-2. So if that was the case, it would have been great work for teammates.
It's good to have friends. It's even better to have teammates, especially a track like Bristol where you think, gosh, you know, not a draft track where you got to plan and coordinate with your teammates to try and get the right draft train going, but restarts do matter. We've seen it a number of times. We've talked about it here a number of times because, well, we've had a lot of restarts to look at. But, yeah, and caution flag is going to fly, so we'll put a period on that one as we look for the incident. It looks like that's going to be Matt Ridgway that's spun around there in turns 1 and 2, Evan.
He's got a lot of damage, and this one was not really for position. Michael Cozy Jr. 2 laps down. I think the thing here is that the 13 was just following the car in front of him, and the car in front of him was racing like he was single file, so he didn't go way up to the outside wall, and I think Cozy expecting the 13 to race like they were side by side. Both of those drivers in that, and that was almost a mirrored image to what we just saw in the previous yellow. Car gets turned, hard hit into the inside wall, back up on track, and collects another. In this case, it was Wally Wilson.
Yeah, it really was, and that's unfortunate, but these sort of instances are so prototypical to Bristol. It's what you'll typically see, because these guys just are doing what they can, but at the same time, once the car goes round, or tries to correct when they get loose, it's going to snap. The banking's too high.
And that's, I mean, if you can visualize a Bristol wreck, that's exactly what you saw. A couple of them tonight. The smaller track width coming into play, and not a lot of drivers slowed down for that one either. So the cars coming in hot and barely were able to make it on through.
Yeah, it's
we do apologize for
really
a game of sorry.
It's really a game of inches out there when you're trying to work your way through these wrecks. Some of these guys might have spotters. Spotting at Bristol is probably one of the hardest gigs around because things happen so fast. We've talked about, and you're trying to tell a guy, oh, they're wrecking. By the time you're finished saying they're wrecking and trying to guide a guy through that wreck, he's probably already into it anyway. So a tough order there to get through it, but Mike Montesi in that 7 car has got to be liking all these yellows. The guys that took tires earlier are going to like these yellows because it keeps their tires better for longer and sort of negates the ill effects that might come from having too many green flag laps on them. So Montesi in the 7's got to be digging this, but Spencer Preet just got to be wishing to get done with this thing. I bet he wants a win, but he's going to have to deal with some more restarts.
Yeah, we are certainly not, I think, all of a sudden going to go 70 laps or so. Light's still on top of the pace car, so not necessarily going to be right at 70. We'll see if the lights go out the next time around or not, but these races don't tend to have yellows early and then not have them late. Sure, there may be less cars out onto the racetrack. Sure, there may be, of course, slower cars out there because they've kind of racked up a little bit of damage as this race has gone on. But in no case does a race at Bristol end a lot more anticlimactically than it does start. Now, it's the first time for everything. One day, we will have a boring Bristol finish. Tonight, I do not believe is that night.
No, I absolutely agree with you. It's not going to be that night at all. Bristol never is. It's one of those things. And to reference the spotting thing there, Evan, a spotter at Bristol is an absolute vital necessity. If you have one, use one. It's really helpful because they can see the whole track or the other side of the track. They can predict a wreck coming a lap away. Then again, a lap away is 14 seconds, so it's hard to guess.
Yeah, I mean, the racetrack itself, not that big, and it could happen at anywhere, so certainly communication between driver and spotter key, but also it's those split-second decisions to turn the wheel left or right when you see a lot of smoke in front of you that oftentimes is the difference maker between you having a good night out and, well, of course, leave it on the hook. Pace car back down at end. Another onboard shot for the restart again. It's the outside for Preet. A coordinated start with Arthur, who slides easily into second. And how about the move topside? Travis Brown. Those are 3 team cars all in a line. He'll go 6th to 3rd for the moment as Montesi to the inside again on those fresher tires.
Montesi trying to play spoiler here as Rebellion Racing doing everything they can to dominate up front here at Bristol. The high lane starting to come together as well. Jeff Ward in that 9 sneaking up on the back bumper of Travis Brown. Look out for that. We saw those two get together earlier. And race car drivers do not forget things. I'm telling you, Jimmy Spencer said he never forgets. These sim racing drivers, they're not much difference. We're 3 wide at Bristol. Jeff Ward way up top, Montesi on the bottom. Mark Arthur in the middle, and my God, Evan, they survived.
And they're not done yet. This time it's Ritter in the middle. He'll break through this Montesi-Ward battle that ends with Montesi winning out in the spot for the moment. Now that Honda Machine wants to go back, but I mean, look at the 16 to Steve Ritter go. His fresh rubber helping him out. He blows by Mark Arthur into third. And look how deep he drives it into the quarter compared to somebody like Travis Brown, who, again, is still on old tires.
No, the difference is insane. You're seeing one race car versus a field that are just tied to a post here. That's the fresh rubber difference. These guys are absolutely just sitting there. They're all bunched up because of the tires. Guys who have got fast cars, they're flying through here. The 9 looking pretty quick at the moment as well. And this is the sort of thing that does actually breed wrecks at Bristol. Mixed tyre strategy. Somebody on new, somebody on old. It just gets things messy, but the 9 trying to work on the 12 again. These two have been battling for quite some time now.
And a battle for the race lead is on. Here comes Steve Ritter. No surprise, he makes the call for the tires early. And for the first time tonight, it is Steve Ritter to the race lead as he passes pole sitter Spencer Preet. Preet has led the most laps tonight. And I believe with the amount of laps that he has led, will secure most laps led. But once again, we find ourselves in a very similar situation to that, shy of 100, with a car out front pulling out and a yellow flag slowing him down.
It's going to be the 51 of Jason Taylor, who went for a spin down the backstretch.
Arthur,
started with
too.
Mark Arthur,
yeah.
Oh, a little bit of contact from Jeff Ward coming off a 2 and compounded things with Jason Taylor, but that was a spin. Oh, wow, that's tough. 12 sideways down the straightaway. Blocks right in front of the 51. That's a big blow for Mark Arthur, who's running up inside the top 5.
That was the top 5 car that gets hit, and it was the 51 machine, who is the first car we picked up on. Jason Taylor, probably running the highest he had been all night, gets collected at all of that. And again, late race fireworks, late race drama. Spencer Preet is in from second. A final trip down pit road for him for 4 tires.
Good call by now to come in for tyres at lap 189. Yeah, we're in a good window here, so a good call for him to head on in. Steve Ritter, yeah, look at the difference you saw with the 16. I would be making that choice too, because the laps you got left, more and more cautions, you're going to take a long time to regain traffic to the field. So, good call to come in. Need to lose some spots, but he'll work it back. He's been quick, and a lot of guys staying out, though. I wonder, though, who's saving theirs to the very end for a massive charge after they saw what a 16 car did? It's possible if you're fast.
Anything is possible at the end of the day if you've got speed. And with the updated running order, it looks like that Spencer Preet will fall down the running order behind the 51 and into position, I believe that was position 8 is where he is scored now. If this is any other racetrack, and we're talking about 250 laps, 2 sets of tires on pit road, I like the call. But with the, almost asinine amount of speed that a car with fresh tires gets, I think the race-winning pit stop could have come lap 220. You got to get to that point, to be fair, with the tires you've got on board. But, to be able to, you get fresh tires in 20 laps from now. Is now Cozy also going to come down pit lane and get tires? I think that I'd continue to wait.
It's a interesting call to make, and being told that the 9 is on 100-lap old tires right now. Jeff Ward on 100-lap old tires. You save that set for as long as you think you can hold out, hoping for another yellow. But, Bristol is probably going to provide that yellow for you. But when you pit, you got to overtake a lot of cars, and you got to hope for green flag laps to be able to do it. So you don't want to wait too long and not leave yourself in a position where you don't have enough laps to get back to the front.
A combination of factors is going to go into whoever wins this race. And, of course, the significantly higher amount of drivers who do not win this race, with 13 cars still on the lead lap. This restart next due up will come with the lights still on the pace car, probably 57 laps to go. We'll see if the lights go out this time, and they do. So we will restart next time by and take 57 laps to go. 193 completed this far, and there's some drivers out there on nearly 100-lap old tires, so they haven't been willing to come down to the pit road yet. But watch for those hungry drivers. Spencer Preet, P8. Kyle Vincent Gilbert behind him in 9th. See how well those 4 fresh tires do as they try to get by a front row. That is going to be Steve Ritter in control. 3rd time in a row. Control car wants the outside line. That'll hit Montesi down low. As the base car heads in, and we come to the restart. 16 has been good so far. It's going to be 2 for 2, nice and easy. And Jeff Ward, a big run. He'll launch to P2.
Great jump by him there, but the new tyres might help him out right now. Ward, of course, fantastic on the old tyres. He looks to the outside of the 16. Big run for him. Up into the wall he goes there, a little too overcooked. And 16 will hold that one back. Will he go to the low side? No, he backs it down. 16 started to play that defensive game now. The 9 just cooked his opportunity. He really had a shot there, but not going to be this time.
Yeah, the 9 machine right there is trying to get through, and look at the 00 machine of Spencer Preet. Those fresh tires, just not fair. Steve Ritter, your race leader, his last lap time was a 15-1 for the guy out front, and keep in mind, he's still on pretty new tires compared to Jeff Ward, but I mean, Spencer Preet is hauling the mail, and Jeff Ward knows there's no sense in trying to block him. So Spencer Preet, just like that, from 8th to 2nd in what, 3 laps?
If that. He passed so many cars from the drop of that restart, flying through the field, and he wasn't shy about it either. He bent a few corners of sheet metal as he made his way through the field, but you see the value of the tires. That's going to put guys like Jeff Ward into a box where all of a sudden they're going to say, gosh, next yellow that comes out, I have to pit. This is the telltale sign. You have to come and get tires. You cannot wait any longer. Spencer Preet now will make the challenge for the lead on Ritter. Shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Shouldn't take him too long as he'll clear the 16 down the back straightaway here, put Spencer Preet back out front. Now the question is, how long until the next yellow, and how big of a gap is Preet going to build?
Well, we saw the 16 of Ritter, fresh tires, come through the field, and the instant another driver got 4 tires, he didn't look fast at all anymore. Now, the yellows have to fall in the right order. But of course, Jeff Ward, somebody who's waiting on tires still, he's at 4th. I don't think 4th, when he saw what Preet was able to do from way back at 8th position, you know, if Jeff Ward can stay top 10 when he comes down pit road, I certainly think there's a chance. But you can't come in on the next yellow because your tires are only going to be a little bit better than Spencer Preet. You've kind of committed at this point, having not come down with the rest of the group, to try to push this a little bit later because you need your tires to be better enough by enough of a margin that you'd be able to drive through the field like we just saw the 00 do. Pitting 5-10 laps after is not going to be that great of a difference.
No, it's not, and of course it all depends how this one plays out. Less than 50 to go now, and you're in that very short window. 50 laps is nothing here at Bristol if these can stay fairly green. People are very spread out. The 01 making it past the 51 now, or tried to, gets a bit of wall there, goes for the undercut coming out the corner. Backs out though, just across the start-finish line, not going to get the opportunity. 83 just ahead of them there. I believe he is a lap down. 86 Groves Jr. He is indeed. Right now we have got 13 cars on that lead lap, and wow, Preet is catching up to them very fast. Lap traffic a factor.
Yeah, lap traffic going to be a factor here in a minute now. King Arthur going to be the first 2 up in 13th and 12th position. And you see right there the 35, even a slower car of McRae, who we mentioned now, 34 laps down, is just going to get out of the way and yield. But nobody's catching Spencer Preet the way it sits right now. And working on it with a good amount of spacing actually at the moment. Good chance that Preet could run off and into the 9 and try to enjoy this one. He's now on that 27. Wally Wilson's going to go 2 laps down, and this is going to be the Dolo's main concern right now as laps cars.
Well, we saw early in the race, the first time that the leaders caught lap traffic, as yellow flag is going to fly here once again. That's the 51 of Jason Taylor once again around down the backstretch. Contact with the 91 of Sean Wilder. Oh my gosh, what happened there? It's like he didn't even know he was outside of him.
It didn't act like it. I mean, he came off of the corner, and the 91 wasn't there, but, I mean, you gotta know that speed's coming, and by the time he started to move up the hill, the 91 was there with a head of steam, and I think that's just maybe a lapse in judgment for Taylor, or miscommunication with the spotter. Squeezes that car into the outside wall. That's how quickly incidents can develop at Bristol.
Absolutely, and Bristol is a very fickle mistress when she comes to collecting her debts. And she will collect from every single car on this track. Although I do think, if I'm not mistaken, Spencer Preet's car is looking... Nope, it's even that spent. So everything has got some bodywork damage at this point.
Yeah, he's got, I think, on the very minor end of things, but it prevents any perfect cars from going to the end of this one. And, well, you talk about pit service drivers, and most importantly, the one that we've kind of been following is maybe the dark horse at all of this is Jeff Ward is down pit road, so is Travis Brown, Butcher Benjamin, also 4 tires. for them, going to use what's left of the Goodyear Eagles in the pit stall, and we'll see if 40 laps and a little bit of better tires, and the car who's been the fastest all night is a winning recipe.
Yeah, the winning recipe going to taste awfully sweet to the guy that gets it right and gets to go to victory lane. Spencer Preet definitely looked like Superman out there on those new tires. That's going to really... I'm telling you, when you come down to the tire strategy, Spencer Preet, I think, got it right because he's up front. The guys that are going to pit now and take tires still going to have to work their way up, but I think enough laps passed where he knocked a lot of the good out of his tires, Spencer Preet did. So the guys that do pit now and take on the new tires are really going to be at the big advantage, and they're going to want green flag laps because, again, you can't pass anybody under yellow, and as the late race yellows continue to pile up, it's taking away a lot of opportunities for them to make up spots.
Little bit by little bit, that's kind of the objective, and I guess that speaks to gaining positions as well as, well, completing laps at Bristol Motor Speedway, a little bit by little bit, but you are certainly at crunch time now. Inside of 40 laps to go for, I would say, 99, if not 100% of the drivers still out onto the racetrack. You're out of tires. What you've got is what you've got. You know, if you don't like where you're running, tell yourself that and reflect on your last 212 laps. But at this point, it's time to kind of lock in, elbows up. And it's funny that, you know, you encourage drivers to kind of go elbows up and get after each other. But this is the time now where you're going to see, I think, more of the 2, the 3 wide. Restart's going to be crazy. And even with the amount of work that we've seen teammates doing together, eventually they've got to turn on each other if they're fighting for position as well. So curious to see how all of this plays out. And also the restart lane choice. Preet signaling that he will once again go topside.
Good call. Topside is definitely the safer option, to be honest. But that's the thing. Teammates will stick together, but it's also helping provide you with a tail gunner at the moment.
And the lights of the pace car are out. So this restart with 37 laps to go from Thunder Valley. Happy you're watching the SESRA series right here on LSRTV in iRacing Live as Spencer Preet is looking for the race win tonight from Bristol. He started on pole, and if he could close this one out, he would be the 3rd different race winner, or I should say now even 4th different race winner in 4 races on 2018, but he has not got it yet. They slow at a 4, green flag in the air. It's a good jump. It looks like Steve Ritter got caught sleeping. 3 wide, nearly Gilbert tried to go inside.
Oh, we got big-time contact. That was the 9 of Jeff Ward getting moved by Taylor Butcher Benjamin in the 8 through 1 and 2. Oh, that was a big move right there as the 8 sort of warped out. Now he's back on track. Big move there to get the 9 out of the way. It's just everyone bunches up, but we are side by side for 2nd place as Preet continues to get away. Here comes KVG in the 227 down low, makes the pass. Can he make it clear up? Yes, he does. Put Kyle Vincent Gilbert up to 2nd.
Up to 2nd, caution. Going to come immediately after that. It'll have big implications on where all these cars restart. And it was the driver basically parked at the start-finish line. Trying to find the number of the driver who it was there. It was the 51 of Jason Taylor, a driver who we've talked a good bit about tonight. And normally in better circumstances, this time, yeah, 3 wide doesn't work like that. The 91 machine saw the 51 slow. He went down low, and with Cozy on the inside, he really couldn't go low, and the 51, I mean, that's just 2 cars going for 1 piece of real estate. That's a racing deal. I'd say 35 laps to go. That's the kind of stuff you'll see.
Oh, certainly. Space is running out, and you've got to go for what you can find, and sometimes you risk some, sometimes you lose some.
That is certainly a loss for Jason Taylor. He was already towards the back of the lead lap, and I think out of frustration, he may have, no, there's the line. He may, I was going to say, he may have just sped down to the pit lane. It was quite the dive down onto pit road. Pit road's tons of fun here on green flag pit stops. You know, only a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, although to be fair, really in most racing disciplines, Bristol doesn't get to see green flag pit stops, so the chaos it is of 2 separated pit roads isn't that big of a factor and you know, in the grand scheme of things, but always something that you kind of look forward to. I think pit road's mainly been sledgehammers and I don't know what other tools you're using to fix these cars tonight because, you know, for all the cars that you're seeing cycle in and out all night long, only 2 pit stops tonight for each car have come for tires. So I'm curious what the percentage was by the end of the night for tires, or for pit stops, I should say, sorry, for tires versus pit stops for damage repair. It'd be a fun interval.
I think it's going to be driver dependent, but I believe that for the vast majority of this field, most of the trips to pit road have been to repair the cosmetics of the race car as opposed to replace the rubber. Pit crew's earning their salaries here tonight, that's for sure. That's Bristol. That's the way it goes. You get close proximity, stock cars, egotistical drivers with elbows up, and everyone with the desire to win. That's what happens. These guys will run into each other, and we've seen that. But, you know, it makes it fun. These guys got to go to pit road, fix some damage, because you can't go out there with a completely tattered vehicle and run that well, but try and make it work. And gosh, it's fun to see tore-up cars running up front, too. Some of these things end up looking like NASCAR wheel and modifieds more than NASCAR stock cars by the time it's all said and done.
And we know it'll be done in 30 laps, but I can't promise you what's going to happen in between now and then. Important things to note on that last run. Jeff Ward, who was recently down for fresh tires, you know, he didn't really gain anything through all of that. You know, we're kind of looking for somebody like that to charge to the field. Also, somebody like, you know, Kyle Vincent Gilbert. He kind of remains stationary. But, Rachel, you'll be happy to know he's restarting second this time, not third.
There you go. That'll make things a little bit interesting for him, of course, as he'll shake things up a tad. And, well, that's going to be interesting for him, because Preet will probably get the launch. The 16, though, I think he's probably going to be second after this restart. That's my bet.
We'll see how it plays out. Sometimes third is actually a better position to be in for the restarts, based on the fact that you can just kind of make that slotted move down low. But we'll see if the 27, having been pinched down low, is able to maintain second, or if John Johnson in the 24 machine, who is a pretty tattered Ford Mustang up on the outside, if he's able to maybe slot up into the top 3. First time we've seen him back top 5 in a while after he started up here, but has had a rough go in the 221 laps that have elapsed since we started this one. But another restart for Spencer Preet. Green flag in the air. He still does not make a mistake. Another good jump for him. The fight is going to be for P2, and Gilbert successfully hangs on to it.
Phenomenal jump there by Kyle Vincent Gilbert in second place. A very tough place to restart second, and Steve Ritter is trying his best. John Johnson, though, up on the high side, has the advantage. The 01 of Travis Brown is coming on quickly. He's going to get involved in this one. Now we get maybe 2, possibly 3. No, definitely stays 2 wide racing for now. Good choice by the 01. Things bottling up, though, behind the 16, who's now lagging behind on that early jump for tires. It's cost him 3 wide. Woohoo!
3 wide, and it's, again, Steve Ritter in the middle, and Owen and Travis Brown was forced to stay all the way down. Now they double file out as Ritter is on the charge inside. We get right up alongside Taylor Butcher Benjamin, making a fight for 4th. And a lot of those cars now at fresher tires. To see Jeff Ward here also trying to get through. But there's just too many cars right now to navigate.
Where do you go, Evan? Where can you go? When they're 2 wide in front of you, there's not room, especially when they're 3 wide. That's a real heart-stopping moment right there. Sean Wilder continues to work the outside of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, trying to make some headway here. Here comes Jeff Ward. That's the guy I've keeping an eye on there in that 9 car. Had a rough go of it in the middle stage of this race, but we know he's fast enough to run with Spencer Preet. If he can get by all of these cars, then he can use those fresh tires to his advantage and try and track those leaders down.
Tracking him down is what you want to do. Preet 6/10 and for Gilbert, that it is a big jump back to this battle for 3rd, where John Johnson under fire because Jeff Ward is here, and the 9 really likes the outside. That's where he can use those tires to wind the car up, but he can't go anywhere right now. Johnson's in front of him. The 8 of Benjamin's on the inside. He'll have to go 3 wide as he keeps slamming on the brakes. He cannot find a way through. How long till he eventually just sends it 3 wide?
Oh, very soon, because that's getting sketchy up there. The 91 nearly went into the back of the 9 there in that checkup moment as he's almost ready to shove the 24. Goes to the low side, dives it in. Big move, slide job up to the top again. The 98 gets a tap from the 91. Taylor Butcher Benjamin just been reminded not to slow down in the corners as the 01 now has to go for move 8 in the wall. Holds it straight though. Gets a good run out the corner beside the 00, or the 01, sorry. Goes up again. Is the 01 going to get the traction he needs? Get a good run through the corner. Gets a good run there down the backstretch. Not going to try and do it though because he's just not quite. Oh wow, there he goes. Past 24 as well. To Travis Brown forwards.
He did a great quarter, so he's going to win out in this fight. That'll put him up to 4th. should note that Jeff Ward, if he doesn't win this race, I think it's going to come down to how long it took him to get around those cars behind. But he is 2/10 to the good as the fastest car on track, and well, nearly a wreck behind these guys. It was Sean Wilder who nearly went up and into the 24 to John Johnson. But Jeff Ward is closing in on your race leaders at a pace that he should be able to catch them by the end of this one. But with only 17 laps to go, he's got to keep his foot on it in third. The gap goes down 3/10, and a caution will group everybody back up.
Just what Jeff Ward wanted to see, and unfortunate news for fans of Steve Ritter and Jay Graves Jr. Those are the two cars around on the front stretch here. Those two come into a stop just past the flag stand. Not real sure. We'll bring it up on the replay there of what happened, bring the caution out. But Jeff Ward, the big benefactor there, he gets to catch up to the leaders, doesn't have to use up those tires. It's going to set up one exciting run to the checkers.
Yeah, it was at 9 with a Sean Wilder. We saw it all unfold. He missed the quarter, went up a little bit high, got tagged, and as he spun, there was nowhere. I don't even think Ritter hits him as they spin so close to each other. That's just the 16 locking up the brakes and get it into the wall, and then Jay Graves Jr. comes in with really nowhere to go, and he pile drives the 16 down onto the inside of the racetrack. And Wilder, who entered this night tied for the championship lead, pulsed it out, as we mentioned, in 20th, had just gotten back into the top 10 after a rough go with things, and unfortunately this will bring him back down. I think he's very much in damage limitation about it, as assuming the 227 he gets through this race, Kyle Vincent Gilbert primed to not only fight for a top spot here tonight, but to possibly leave this race as the points leader.
Yeah, entirely possible in that situation. Something he'll have to hope for, because it is a great spot to do it now. And he has a real opportunity to bring that on through, but he's got to be careful. There's still plenty of laps to go, and it's so easy to lose it at Bristol.
And now this will be a fun one, because the lights on top of the pace car to go out shortly. Spencer Preet, Kyle Vincent Gilbert. That would be a good battle on their own. But I think Jeff Ward has a real opportunity here to win this race for the Bristol Motor Speedway. We kind of thinking out loud when we talked ourselves through the strategy, David. I said that I thought Ward's decision was the right one. Wait a little bit longer, get the fresher tires later. Assuming you get through traffic, you're going to be in a good spot. And listen, I thought he was going to be able to catch these guys at that 1.7 second deficit, regardless of a yellow or not. But that completely eliminates the buffer that Spencer Preet had got from running away on the restart. Jeff Ward is either going to be right on his bumper or right on the bumper of Kyle Vincent Gilbert, and I just don't see you slowing him down or holding him off for, you know, the 12 or 11 laps that we get. I think the only thing that works in favor of the 00, a restart and a quick yellow, that or some insane blocking.
Well, this sort of track, you do that kind of insane blocking you alluded to, and you're not going to be in your position for very long, because Jeff Ward will not hesitate to use that front bumper. We've seen him be absolutely committed to the bottom side all race long, and he gets to restart on the bottom right where he wants to be. So Spencer Preet's got to factor that into his equation of where he restarts from. If I'm him, I'm probably going to start up top. We've seen him use the top side on restarts to great advantage, and I think you put Kyle Vincent Gilbert down there to deal with Jeff Ward, use him as a pick so you can sort of run away and hope they scrap it out for the second place.
All you can hope for. That's what the 00 is crossed his fingers for. The lights go out on top of the pace car. This will be an 11 lap to go restart from the Bristol Motor Speedway on the line. Of course, race win. We've seen 3 different race winners so far this season. Jason Taylor at Daytona International Speedway, Jeff Ward from Charlotte, and Derek Paulson most recently from the Darlington Raceway. We will see if it is a new first-time winner, or if maybe Jeff Ward pulls it out, becomes the first to get to 2 on 2018. The pace car down, could it be the final restart tonight from Bristol? It's the outside with the control, green flag in the air, and it's a good jump. Jeff Ward's got nowhere to go as the challenge from Travis Brown goes to the outside of Gilbert.
Travis Brown got the high side. He's got up alongside the 227, which is exactly where he needs to be. Gilbert has to push it now, but the 01 gets a bit of wall there, which is what he wanted. The 9 comes through. 9's going to duck down ahead of the 227. 9 dives it in. Is it enough? He slides up there and slows the 01 down. Perfect slide job by the 9 car. 01 really not got the legs anymore to respond.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Ward gets through, but that could be a costly lap or two that it took him. The gap between Spencer Preet now 0.6 of a second. but he's so good off the quarter. Is he going to be able to catch him with less than 10 laps to go? And he'll change his line. Now Jeff Ward drives in hard on the inside of the racetrack. His lap that time by going to be faster by more than a tenth, so he's closing as Spencer Preet continues to watch the rearview mirror.
Catching him's one thing, passing him's another, but Jeff Ward has so much speed in that number 9 Arctic Ford Mustang, I don't think it's really going to matter what Spencer Preet does unless he throws the super block, and that could end in a disastrous result. As caution flag waves, I think we still will get a restart. I don't think we're quite at the point of no return, but a little more drama for you now as these two boys will restart on the same row up front.
Yeah, I think we're going to get at least a 1 or 2 lap shootout. Jeff Ward was coming, and Spencer Preet's not in the clear. He'll have another restart to get through, but man, could these yellows really be the thing that helps him out? And, of course, the incident there triggering a caution flag, the 7 car is the one who got turned around. It was Mike Montesi. So many drivers, we talk about how good of a night they're having, and, you know, you have a bad night early on, you recover, you get back up into it just for an incident like that to happen where Montesi gets tagged and no fault of his own. Not on a Sean Wilder, just got a little bit sideways off of the corner, tracked down a lane, hooks the 7 into the outside wall, and it just really added insult to injury for a lot of drivers who up until this point have already had a dismal evening.
Yeah, it certainly has, but this is Bristol racing. This is the sort of thing that will happen, and, well, they're doing what they have to do. It's going to be a very close to an end to this, though, if we get a good restart. I think it goes to Preet. He's the leader. He's going to have the advantage, but it's, who knows what's going to happen.
And we don't know how many laps, I mean, technically, if any, are going to be left in this race, but of course we kind of refer to that point of no return as 5 or 4 laps left to go or less, and we were coming to take 6 laps to go. So I believe there will be a restart. 1 or 2 laps going to make a big difference, and of course, Spencer Preet has, I don't think David has not led a lap after he restarted this race as the control car all night, and that's got to be, what, double digits by now for how many times he's brought us to the green. He has never really had to deal with a car on significantly fresher tires that's going to be either on his inside or outside, and I'm curious if the 9's presence is going to change the 00 strategy up. If I'm Preet, I still take the outside of the racetrack and hope for the best because I don't have the tires, so the one thing that I do want working in my favor is that run off of the corner. But if it's 1 lap, we know we're going to be able to race to the end. If it's 2, well, there's always a chance you don't even get all 2 laps in. Remember, a yellow before the white ends it immediately.
If I'm in Spencer Preet's position, I'm definitely restarting from the top. He's gotten the best launch from the top lane, and I think he controls his own destiny the best from up there as well. Jeff Ward's certainly very good on the bottom, but you can sort of defend a little bit more. You put the guy on the bottom in a position where he's going to have to rough you up if he's going to pass you, especially on the restart. And we've seen Spencer Preet get himself a very nice jump every time he's restarted this race. So if he can even get a 10th or 2 of an advantage over Jeff Ward on the restart, that could be enough to hold him off over the course of the run to the checkers.
Well, the lights are still on top of the pace car, so it will not be a 2-lap run to the end. Do they go out at all? Or is this race going to end under caution flag conditions? Going to find out this time by as we take 2 laps to go from Thunder Valley. The verdict for the iRacing.com pace car is lights out and a 1-lap shootout to decide it.
I will quote a rather noted NASCAR commentator. Boogity, boogity, let's go racing, boys.
And something about pulling those belts tight one more time, right?
Yep,
I think
something
that's
like
what
that.
these drivers got to remind themselves about. To be fair, you have to get to the white flag to guarantee that this race is going to go to the end, but it is going to be a 1-lap shootout to determine a winner tonight from Bristol at a Gladiator 250, and it is Jeff Ward down low on fresh tires against the dominant car the night up top, Spencer Preet, who dictates when we go green. Restart and 1 lap to go from Bristol. The 9 cars right there. To the inside he goes, but the 00 will clear at a turn number 2. Jeff Ward may be too far behind. He'll drive it into turn 3, but it'll be Spencer Preet holds him off and wins from Bristol.
Wow, what an exciting finish. Spencer Preet earns his first win of this season by holding off a hard-charging Jeff Ward, and he did exactly what I said he needed to do. Start on the top side, get a good jump, and defend. And he did it perfectly and is rewarded with a very, very, very well-earned checkered flag.
And Michael Cozy comes sailing in to give him the congratulations. It'll be the 4th different winner in 4 races this season to start the SESRA series. But if you're Jeff Ward, man, and listen, the Double O was the best car all night. Got no issues Spencer Preet winning this race. I think when you look at the total performance, he deserves this one. But I mean, if you're Jeff Ward, that caution comes out a lap earlier and you get a 2-lap restart at the end, you probably got him. That yellow doesn't come out at all, you probably got him. But under the circumstances that Spencer Preet was given, he delivers, and an enthusiastic defense of the lead on that final lap.
Oh, absolutely huge defense there. Incredible run at the end of this thing, but Preet did what he had to do, and he's been the car that looked the best all race long. Qualified pole, stayed up front. What are you going to do?
He is headed to victory lane, and that is where we will catch up with him in just a little bit. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and when we come back to the Bristol Motor Speedway post-race action on iRacing Live, you're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the SESRA series. We'll go to victory lane from Bristol when we come back.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And we're back live from the Bristol Motor Speedway. Happy that you're with us for LSRTV's continuing coverage of the SESRA series on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. We will go trackside to get a post-race reaction from your top finishers in just a moment. But as we welcome you back into the LSRTV booth with Evan Pasoko, David Shieldhouse, Rachel Whiteford, and our producer Brett Wheeler. First, we will look top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results. The top 10 will finish on the lead lap. It is Spencer Preet, though, headed to victory lane for the first time tonight. He starts on a pole. He wins this race. Jeff Ward starts second and finishes P2. It'll be fun to get their reaction on the end as well. Travis Brown in third. We'll go trackside all of them momentarily. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, a race high at the end of it all, ends up fourth. And it is Kyle Vincent Gilbert who rounds out your top five. John Johnson who comes home in sixth with Mike Montesi seventh. Tyler Pinisso in the number 8 position. Mark Arthur ninth, and round out your top 10. And again, the last car on the lead lap, the 38 of Hunter A. King.
Behind that, it's Jason Taylor 11th place with Sean Wilder in 12th place. Michael Cozy Jr. unfortunately ends up back in 13th. Wally Wilson in 14th place. Steve Ritter 15th. Jay Graves Jr. 16th. Brian McRae, Douglas R. Johnson, Matt Ridgway, and Derek Paulson in 20th. His final place is, of course, Zachary Sprung, Justin Bolton in 22nd. Jason Anderson 23rd. Kevin Dye and Mark Dingman 25th non-start.
Complete look top to bottom of your LSRTV full race results. Let's head down to Gatorade Victory Lane, where Spencer Preet is standing by. Your race winner tonight from the Bristol Motor Speedway. Spencer, congratulations on the race win. You guys start up front, and for about 90% of this race, you run up front. But Jeff Ward nearly got you there with a late race call to go for tires, and it all came down to that one-lap shootout.
Yeah, I never know what to do when it comes to the tire strategy in this league. The tire limit and only being able to change tires so many times really throws you for a loop, especially at a place like this where you just never know if you're ever going to get another shot to pit, or if you're going to have enough time when you do pit to pass the guys that are staying out. And so I made the call to come in. I think it was around like 50 something to go. I just wanted to get the tires my last set and not have, not regret not taking it. But unfortunately we were able to get a long enough run in for Jeff to get his shot at his last set, and he had probably 15-20 lap fresher tires than me there at the end, and made it pretty nerve-wracking there in his last few restarts.
He certainly did his best coming through the field, and then obviously, I mean, you guys go down into turn number 1 off for the restart side by side. We were kind of thinking out loud that you would go with the outside. Earlier in this race, everybody was choosing the bottom, and then once you decided to go top side, everybody else did as well. What was the decision there, and why do you think everybody else decided to eventually move up for the control of those restarts?
Well, I knew that, at the beginning on very fresh tires, you could kind of run the bottom lane through 1 and 2 when you're not up to speed quicker than you could the top or the middle. But once you put some heat into the tires and wore them out and had to restart on old tires, it was really hard to do that. And I had kind of kept to the bottom at first, kind of, I think I had teammates lining up behind me on restarts, and then eventually I think there was a situation where it was beneficial for both of us for me to start on the outside, and I went up there, and it was a lot better because I wasn't having to have to cross over from the bottom to the top to get into one. I just was able to drive in and carry the momentum off of the top on the start and have that going into one.
I think that was Mark behind John, one of those in fourth, and it worked out because he pretty quickly jumped up to second, and then obviously, everybody starts on fighting and it goes from there. But I know you kind of briefly touched on it already. The way that these Bristol races go, you never know when the caution flags are going to come out. It's kind of stop and start. It's not like there's a fixed strategy and any single caution flag ruins someone's strategy. It just modifies it a little bit. How do you navigate this race? Only 2 sets of tires down on pit road. Evidently, you're in victory lane, so you made the right call. But just tell us how those discussions went with the team and kind of how maybe that advanced over the course of 250 laps.
Well, I mean, in the Founder Series we did before this season, I got burned so many times by taking my tires too early or not taking them at all because I would wait too long and we'd never get that caution, or if we did, I wouldn't have enough time to get back up through. So I just knew tonight that with the way things have been shaping up, and there was kind of some sort of glitch going on where guys ended up taking tires when they weren't meaning to, and I think a few people may have taken an extra set tonight. So there was a lot of people that I knew were going to be staying out longer. I think around 80 to go, there was about like 5 or 6 guys that I knew were going to be staying out from that point on. And so I knew whenever I came in, I was going to have to pass them and then try to keep them between me and Jeff or whoever it was that was going to be coming with fresh tires later. And that ended up being what did it, because that run that we got when Jeff came in to take tires, I think I was about 2.5 seconds ahead of him by the time he got all the way up to third. And I mean, had it gone green the last 15 laps of the race to finish that run, I think I still would have been able to hold him off. But we got all the restarts, and that kind of gave him, multiple opportunities to be able to get a shot at me. So, I mean, there's no secret to it. I've messed it up multiple times. I mean, I've hit it right a few times, but it's like, you never know when those cautions are coming and what the right call is until the race is over. And if you end up in victory lane, that's pretty much the only way to make the right call is in hindsight.
Well, looking back on it, it all ends out well for you. You are the 4th different race winner in 4 races to start this SESRA series. You came into tonight P5 in the points. What is it about this group that allows us to, see anybody get a shot at a race win week in, week out?
Well, there's definitely a lot of diverse competition at the top. I feel like I can really hot lap and qualify with the best of them, but I know Jeff, especially, I talked about it last week, he can really hang on to his sets of old tires is a lot longer than most. And so it's things like that where you have the tire limit that kind of throws in, it's not really an equalizer, but it's an added variable that definitely kind of levels the playing field a little bit for some guys that maybe aren't as quick, like right off the jump at the start of a run. It throws an extra piece of strategy in there that can kind of change the outcome of a race in the blink of an eye. So it's stuff like that it keeps you on your toes. You always have to be ready to make a last second call for a pit stop, or be ready to try to hold on if you know that you're going to be on old tires when everyone's coming with fresh ones. I mean, it's stuff like that keeps this league interesting week after week.
Something tells me that's going to be a theme for the rest of the season. We'll let you get out of here as we get set for Atlanta next week, Spencer. Before we do sponsors, shout-outs, anybody you want to say hi to?
Just thank you to everyone on my team. Shout out to the league, SESRA, and everyone that puts this on. Shout out to Cozy and his stream and everyone watching, and shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast.
We appreciate you, we appreciate you letting us borrow you here post-race. Again, congratulations on the win, Spencer. You guys have been good so far. Hopefully for you guys, the first of many. We'll let you get out here, but again, congratulations, and we'll see you next Thursday night.
Thank you. See you then.
The race winner tonight from the Bristol Motor Speedway. The flip side of that last lap battle, Jeff Ward, who was the fastest car at the end of this race, but who finishes in second position. Still a great result for the driver of the number 9 machine. Trackside with him is David.
It was a really strong run for the number 9 of Jeff Ward. Made that Mustang look really sporty around the high banks here at Bristol, but it comes up just one spot short of where he wanted to be. And Jeff, I think you just ran out of laps because I think you had something for Spencer, just couldn't prove it out. Do you think you were able to get by if that late race yellow didn't fly?
Yeah, first off, congrats to Spencer. That was a rough one, man. I think the caution before the last one there, I think we was reeling him in pretty good. We may have a shot to take the lead there, but it's hard to pass. Even when you get the bottom rolling, you can't really drive up off the corner without getting into the side of the guy. So it was tough. I was happy just to be in top 3 at that point, man, after we got tapped in the tail there and spun around once and collected up in that and had to recover. So at one point I thought our race was maybe done, but ended up not having too much damage, able to drive back up through the field there, and it wasn't easy. But I think if cards would have fell a little differently, maybe one of those cautions didn't fly, we would have had a lot better chance there. But them guys, that team did really good on restarts tonight, Rebellion. They were sometimes lined up 3 cars on the top, counting them down, and we was just kind of a lone duck there on the bottom a lot of times, and then had cars that were almost acting like picks between me and Spencer, so had to try to fight through that. But that was a really tough night, man. I was sweating like crazy, lost my temper a couple times, but to get second, I'm pretty happy with that for points.
47 laps led for you here tonight, and you may have made more green flag passes on other drivers in the field than anybody else out there. I didn't keep official count, but I saw you go by a lot of guys, and you mentioned the contact you had earlier in the race where you got spun around, fell back to about 11th position or so, and I guess lucky to get away with not so much damage, having gone nose first in the outside barrier. Mustang held tough, and you were able to recover from that from a points perspective with the win a couple weeks ago at Charlotte, now a second place here at Bristol, setting you up pretty good to be a nice opening part to this season. Does that continue forward now when you look ahead?
Yeah, I think we got some mile and a halves coming up that we're pretty strong at. Me and Derek Polson, my teammate, will get back to work, see what we can come up with. But last week, man, that hurt us pretty bad. That one stung as well there at Darlington. We was set up for the win there, and it got collected up. So we'll just keep digging. I think some wins are around the corner. Just keep trying to drive smart, save tires, and try to keep hitting these strategies like we did tonight. I think we had the right strategy. I just think the cautions fell in the wrong spots.
And you mentioned your teammate Derek Paulson. Rough night for him, along with the 91 of Sean Wilder, who came in as the points leaders, shared points leaders. So you had an opportunity to capitalize on their misfortunes, and you certainly did that by coming home second. So that might put you closer to leading the points when we get out of Bristol. We'll see as everything becomes official. But leading the points or being close to the lead this early into the season and some good racetracks ahead, what's your strategy now going forward? Are you going for wins, or are you going for just good point days?
Just consistency. I think they reward you here for being the regional champ, which is little segments of 5 races here and then 5 races in the east, west, north, and south. So that's pretty cool that they reward for that. I'm looking at the big picture. Just stay consistent. This is a straight up points format, kind of like the old Winston Cup. I don't think it resets. So I'm a big fan of that. I've lost a lot of championships in the chase coming down to Homestead. So I like this format. If we can just stay consistent, try to get top 5s every week, I think we'll be up there at the top.
Well, Jeff, you gave it a great run, recovered from some early trouble to bring the number 9 home in second here tonight. Why don't you tell everyone who helps get you here to the racetrack and help you succeed, sponsors, friends, family, shout-outs from there.
Just thanks to LSRTV doing the broadcast. You guys do great. Thanks to SESRA putting on a hell of a show here. Thanks to my teammate Derek Polson that I mentioned here at Loud Pedal Motorsports. And just like to give a shout out to my dad. He's been watching the broadcast here lately and enjoying them. So that's about it.
There you have it, folks. Driver the number 9 Arctic Ford Mustang. Gave it a second place run here tonight. Jeff Ward, great run. We'll look forward to seeing you next week when we head to another mile and a half. We expect to see you be fast there. Good run here tonight. We'll see you in a week.
All right. Thanks, David.
All right, second place finisher Jeff Ward. Sounded a little bit tired, Evan. I can't blame him. 250 laps around Bristol will definitely do that to you. And we'll catch up with our third place driver now. Travis Brown, driver the 01. We'll bring him in here. Travis, I got to feel happy getting that third place finish. You had a nice little battle to the line, up and down day, but you bring it home in a podium spot. Tell me how you feel about that one.
I feel good. Honestly, I didn't think I'd be able to do it. I thought I had top 5 speed for most of the night, but just some circumstances kind of got me to the back, and had to kind of play a little strategy to get back up there. And big thing was just trying to keep it clean. I feel horrible for turning Bolton around earlier in the race. Some guys got together in front of him, and then I got in the back of him and spun him around. And then I got in the back of Jeff and pissed him off, and I felt really bad about those 2 things. But yeah, I was just trying to keep it clean, keep my temper under control, honestly, because I've had a bad habit of coming to Bristol and 30 laps into the race end up being madder than a midget with a yo-yo, and the whole race goes to hell from there. So yeah, honestly, the whole race is kind of a blur. I just kind of did my thing, tried to stay out of trouble for the most part beside those 2 incidents, and brought it home third somehow.
That's a new analogy to add to the bag for Bristol, but that is Bristol. You encapsulated it so well, keeping the emotions in check. Even early on, things happen. Contact is inevitable here, and like Kevin Harvick said, you get bent fenders and hurt feelings, and that was pretty early on. We saw a lot of that contact, a lot of tore-up race cars. Yours none different. I look at the front end as you came to the checkered flag, almost looking more like an open wheeler with all the fenders missing, but you still brought it home third, fought through 250 laps, recovered from some early on troubles. So how does that run sort of set you up now as we look forward over the next couple of weeks here in the SESRA series?
You know, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to the points just because, I mean, after the first 2 weeks, I didn't want to look at them because I figured I'd probably be really mad because I had 2 horrible runs to start the season. And last week we finished 5th or something, I think. So that was pretty good. And tonight a 3rd's pretty good. So, you know, I'll probably look at the points, see where I'm at. Jeff and Preet and Cozy are probably going to be the class of the field this season. So, you know, I'm not going to really worry too much over points. I'm just going to try to maybe pull a little tire strategy here and there. And just, honestly, I just want to win a race. I could care less about the points because, like I said, those guys are going to be hard to beat in the points. But I think if I just take it race by race and try to focus on doing the best strategy to try to get the win, points will kind of play out, and hopefully I'm finish decent in them.
We heard from Jeff Ward in his interview talking about Rebellion Racing and the strategies being put into play there, especially on the restarts. Being a part of that team, tell me what was happening there on those restarts. How were you able to organize so well?
You know, all of us have been racing together for, well, not all of us, but most of us have been racing together for years. So, you know, we've known each other for a while and kind of know how each other race, and the counting down of the restarts, we've been doing that for years, you know, so we've just kind of got that down right. You know, it's pretty good. It comes in handy really when you line up. There were a couple times I think there were 3 of us on the outside line, and we would all 3 be clear going off into 1. So that comes in handy. Late in the race, the countdowns go out the window. It's every man for himself at the end. So, you know, if you probably look at the restarts there at the end of the race, I wasn't doing good at all because, you know, I was in the same boat as everybody else. So, yeah, that's just, you know, we don't have like a defined point when it ends, but it does end towards the end of the race. But early on, it really comes in handy.
Absolutely. When you get down there, it's every man for himself. Doesn't matter if you're on the same team or not. Well, Travis, great to talk to you for the first time here in this season. And the way you put in the work here tonight, over 250 laps, I think we might get the opportunity to hear from you more as the weeks progress. But why don't you tell everyone at home who helps get you in the number 01 car here into the top 3 tonight and on a weekly basis?
Rebellion Racing. Think Mark, or well, this fixed setup. I'm used to thanking them for the setups, but yeah, just thank all of them for being good teammates. Like I said, you know, we work great together tonight. Work great together every week. Black Country Rock, you guys for broadcasting, SESRA, everybody for watching. Shout out everybody at Cozy Stream. I think that's it. I think I covered everybody. I hope I did. Thank you, David. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Travis. Great to talk to you. Enjoyed the new analogy I get to add to my bag for things to talk about when we come back to Bristol at another point. But they call him Moonhead. That's the driver of the 01, Travis Brown, bringing it home in 3rd. We'll look forward to seeing you next week at Atlanta.
Hell yeah.
All right, Evan, that'll do it. Your 2nd and 3rd place finishers there. Again, all these guys sound exhausted. I know we were just doing the broadcast. They were doing the real work. But 250 laps around Bristol, no short order there. That takes a lot of strength and mental fortitude and emotional control, and I think they all about exhausted that.
Yeah, I think it's just draining. It's funny, before the race started, we were talking about, you know, long endurance road races and how you kind of elaborate and you get a lot of time to think on those. And this one, I mean, it really wasn't a lot of that. With all the restarts we had, you're talking about, you know, the side-by-side, and you didn't really have any opportunities to break. The caution flies with how quick the laps are, what, maybe 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and then you're right back into it. So, you know, we're always appreciative of the guys for giving us some time post-race. A big thanks to Spencer, Jeff, and Latarvis for hanging out. And again, of course, they're your top 3 finishers. We mentioned it, 4 different race winners in 4 weeks. And Bristol Motor Speedway heads behind us with the Atlanta Motor Speedway due up next. I mentioned we're going to get a little bit more wiggle room, and that comes at Hotlanta next Thursday night.
Well, it should be a real exciting one there. Tire wear. When I think tire wear, I think Atlanta Motor Speedway. There's not many racetracks with a more abrasive surface where guys that take care of their tires are rewarded than Atlanta Motor Speedway. So the tire strategy, they talked about it here, even at Bristol, short track. The tire allotment rule that the SESRA Series puts into place, really making for some interesting strategy, and I expect to see more of that next week when we do go to Atlanta. So these guys are going to be slipping and sliding all around, trying to take care of the rubber, take care of each other. But so far, through 4 weeks, 4 different winners, that's what I love to see.
You're not going to want to miss that race, and of course, we're never going to make you wait a whole week until you catch more live sim racing action right here at LSRTV and our Racing Live. It is it for us for the week, though, so We encourage you to join us next Sunday when a new week of broadcast start. You can find our full schedule over on our website. Go to livesimracing.com for more information. And of course, we say it every week, the best way to stay engaged with us so you know where these broadcasts are, whether they're going to be here on LSRTV or over on the iRacing Sports Network, is to engage with us on social media. You can like us at facebook.com/LSRTV official. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at LSRTV for more information. On behalf of our entire team behind the scenes, for the folks who make these broadcasts happen night in and night out, and of course for your team tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, for David Schildhouse, Rachel Whiteford, and Brett Wheeler, we want to thank you for tuning in and to congratulate Spencer Preet, first-time winner. Let's see what happens next week as we head to Hotlanta. Next race on this series comes on Thursday, November the 1st for the Southern Sprint 100. That race and every race of the SESRA series can be found right here at LSRTV, where you're home for sim racing. Until next time, though, good night from Bristol. The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.